the throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1551 True God Messenger. Geno? Elder Nabo closed his eyes, recalled for a while, and smiled. So it was Geno's niece. Is he okay? My uncle is dead. Lee burst into tears. Not only my uncle, but all the people in the monastery are dead. Other monasteries are the same. Except for us women and children who escaped, everyone else died. How could it be? Elder Nabo was stunned. It was the demon cult. They got some advanced mechas from somewhere. We had no ability to resist at all, and were slaughtered by them like livestock. Lee wiped her tears with the back of her hand, but the tears still flowed out. Demon cult. How can this be? Elder Nabo clenched his hands tightly, and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. Elder Nabo, I have been looking for you in the monastery for 2 months, and I didn't find you until today. The demon cult will attack at any time. Let's run. If we die too, the Mechas sect will be completely destroyed. Lee said anxiously. At this time, the other monks also woke up one after another. They just heard what Lee said and knew that all other monasteries were destroyed and the Mechas sect was in danger. They all kept silent, looking at Elder Nabo. Of course we have to escape. How can we be the opponent of the demon cult? The question is, how to escape and where to escape to. Elder Nabo shook his head and smiled bitterly. Kit, you have worked hard. You are so young, but you can climb the Tower of Babel. Your cultivation is not simple. Lee's face flushed, turned to look at Xia Xingchen, and whispered, I fainted halfway up, and he brought me up. This one. Elder Nabo noticed that in addition to Lee, there was another young stranger on the top of the tower. You are not a believer of the Mechas sect. Elder Nabo's pupils shrank suddenly. Pagan. How dare you step into the holy land of our sect? The monks glared at Xia Xingchen, and even a few monks came over and surrounded Xia Xingchen in the center. You are right, I'm not a believer. Xia Xingchen smiled faintly, looking at Elder Nabo without any fear. You. The Elder Nabo seemed to sense something, and suddenly stood up, staggering, and walked towards Xia Xingchen. When he arrived in front of Xia Xingchen, he heard a plop, and the Elder Nabo actually knelt on the ground, his face full of piety, and his eyes full of surprise. Of course you are not a believer. You are a god. You are the messenger sent by Buddha to save us. God? The messenger of Buddha? Xia Xingchen was very surprised, and looked at the Elder Nabo in surprise, thinking that this old man would not be crazy. He is a god. The other monks were also shocked. God? Elder Nabo, he is obviously a human, and a pagan. Lee argued. What do you know? Kneel down quickly, and pray for God's forgiveness. The Elder Nabo said sternly. Although the monks were confused, and didn't know what the Elder Nabo was doing, he was a famous prophet of the Mechas sect, and they all knelt down in front of Xia Xingchen. Seeing that the other monks knelt down, Lee also knelt down reluctantly. Elder, I think you are mistaken. I'm not a god, nor am I a messenger of Buddha. Xia Xingchen shook his head and said seriously. My lord, other people have mortal eyes, but I can see the divine light of faith in your spiritual platform. That divine light is majestic and vast, and the divine brilliance of the Tangshan Tower is dim in front of you. Even if you are not a messenger of Buddha, you must be a true god. It must be destined to appear at this time, and come to save us. The elder said in a low voice. Can you see it? Xia Xingchen's face changed, knowing that the spiritual platform divine light, that the elder said, was the brilliance of the source of faith. So far, the elder is the first person to see the source of faith. Seeing the elder nod, Xia Xingchen's heart suddenly surged with a strong murderous intent, wanting to kill and silence him. However, the murderous intent was only a moment, and soon subsided. Xia Xingchen naturally couldn't do anything to an unarmed and harmless old man. Xia Xingchen took a deep breath to calm down, and looked at the elder. It seems that you are not an ordinary person. Next, our conversation should not be heard by others. The elder nodded. Xia Xingchen waved his hand, and a starry sky barrier appeared in a semicircle, covering him and the elder. From the outside, you can only see a brilliant starlight. You can't see inside, and you can't hear the conversation between Xia Xingchen and the elder.
Although I have faith, I'm not a true god. I'm just a mortal. I don't believe that there are gods and demons in the universe. Xia Xingchen looked at the elder and said, I know. Those words just now were said to them. For me, gods and demons, or celestial beings, are all code names, representing great power. I see this kind of power in you. A sly smile appeared on the old face of the elder. You have real wisdom. That's good. I don't want to talk to a religious lunatic. Xia Xingchen nodded and handed the storage device to the elder. I got this from a dying monk. He said there is information about the magic bottle in it. Are you looking for the magic bottle? The elder smiled slightly. You are lucky. I happen to be an insider. I can tell you more about the magic bottle, much more than the information in this storage device. What do you want? Xia Xingchen's eyes lit up. I want the devil cult to be destroyed. The elder gritted his teeth. Do you really think that I alone can destroy an evil religion that is deeply rooted and still firmly rooted on the earth? Xia Xingchen smiled. The elder did not answer, but nodded heavily. Okay, you win. I do have the power. Xia Xingchen said helplessly, but everything has its price. I can help you destroy the demon cult. But the news of the magic bottle alone is not enough for me to take the risk. What do you want? The dark cult can give everything. The elder said firmly, as long as we can destroy the demon cult, we are willing to pay any price. It depends on what you have. Xia Xingchen smiled and said, money, power, army. In fact, I have nothing. I don't think you can come up with something that will make me excited. No, we can. The elder said, I know what you need. It's faith. Faith. Xia Xingchen was slightly startled. The elder was right. Xia Xingchen has the source of faith, which can transform faith into mental power. Although the faith power stored in the source of faith is not small, Xia Xingchen still needs a lot of mental power to break through the planetary level and enter the star level. Therefore, faith is indeed the more the better. But there are too few people left in the dark cult, less than 100 people. I don't think you can provide much faith. Xia Xingchen whispered. Chapter 1552, Spiritual Refining and Blessing Stone. Indeed, there are less than 100 people left in my sect of meditation, and you don't even look down on the little faith I offer. Besides, the true God we believe in is Buddha, not you. The elder nodded. Then how are you going to provide me with faith? Xia Xingchen frowned and looked at the elder. The power of faith in you is boundless. I have never seen anyone like you in my life. Therefore, the moment I saw you, I really regarded you as a god. Logically speaking, you have so much power of faith, you should have evolved into a celestial being. At the very least, you are a quasi-celestial being, at the peak of the star level. How could your mental power realm be stuck at the planetary level? The elder smiled and said, I boldly speculate that you don't have the meditation method to transform the power of faith into mental power. Transform faith into mental power. Xia Xingchen was shocked. Xia Xingchen now masters the motion gong of the orcs and can improve the efficiency of meditation through some special meditation movements. However, the level of motion gong is too low, suitable for those below the legend, and it is no longer suitable for him now. In addition, there is the light particle alienation technique of the Liang clan, which can convert solar energy into spiritual power for its own use. However, the light particle alienation technique has very strict requirements on the place of practice. It is best to be on a star to achieve the best effect. In other places, planets, or space, there is not enough solar energy and the meditation efficiency is low. As for the unity of man and nature taught by Master Roger, it is not a meditation method. Moreover, the unity of man and nature is extremely difficult. It requires the understanding of many cosmic mysteries to achieve a significant improvement. Nowadays, Xia Xingchen's meditation practice still relies on the crystal meditation method learned from the source of faith, meditating on the crystal pyramid and absorbing the free spiritual energy in the universe. Another way is to rely on the source of faith to transform the power of faith into spiritual power. However, the speed of the source of faith transforming faith is too slow, and a large amount of faith power is stored in the pyramid. From the planets such as Liang Star, Azure Star, Luban Star, and Mana Star, a large amount of faith power is constantly gathered, and even the source of faith is filled up and almost overflowing.
Xia Xingchen now has a lot of treasures in his hands, and a lot of faith power is wasted. The Elder Nabo is a rare wise man in the starry sky. He can see at a glance that what Xia Xingchen needs is not faith, but a meditation method that transforms faith into spiritual power. You should be wondering why my fellow apprentices and I have much higher spiritual power than others. That's right, our Mengxiu sect has a very long history. Once a great man awakened his ancient memories. He was lucky. In his memory, there was a meditation method that transforms faith into spiritual power. We call this meditation method spirit refining technique. It is precisely relying on the spirit refining technique that our Mengxiu sect has been passed down to this day and continues to flourish. The Elder Nabo said in a deep voice. However, the spirit refining technique is a secret of the Mengxiu sect. I'm afraid that it is against the rules for me to pass on this meditation technique to you. You mean, let me join the Mengxiu sect? Xia Xingchen frowned slightly and understood what the Elder Nabo meant. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. The Elder Nabo nodded. No, I will not join the Mengxiu sect. In fact, I don't believe in religion at all. I only believe in science. Xia Xingchen said decisively. The elder was silent for a long time, with an embarrassed look on his face, and finally sighed. Well, the Mengxiu sect is at the critical moment of life and death. The previous rules are no longer appropriate. I can teach you the art of refining the soul, but you can't pass it on to others, even to your wife and son, unless they are believers of the Mengxiu sect, and you must promise me to destroy the demon sect. Of course. Xia Xingchen nodded. Okay. This is the meditation diagram of the art of refining the soul, and the meditation formula. The elder bit his finger and drew a meditation diagram on the ground with blood. This meditation diagram is somewhat similar to the murals in the Tower of Babel, but the details are different. It is a Buddha sitting cross-legged in meditation, with an endless starry sky above his head, and countless rays of light gathered down to form a light column, entering the Buddha's brain. This is the art of refining the soul. Xia Xingchen looked at the meditation diagram on the ground and was shocked. Did you remember it? The elder asked. I've got it. Xia Xingchen had a photographic memory. With just one glance, the meditation diagram was deeply imprinted in his mind, without a single mistake. The elder grabbed a handful of sand and smeared it on the meditation diagram, destroying it. There's one thing I don't understand. Xia Xingchen asked. You are also practicing this soul refining technique, but where does your faith come from? I can feel that there is a strong power of faith in the walls of the Tower of Babel. What secrets are hidden in it? The stone used to build the upper part of the Tower of Babel is called the Blessing Stone, which is an extremely rare special ore. This stone can store faith, but the amount stored is very small. The power of faith in the walls of the Tower of Babel was stored by the believers of the Mengxiu sect after hundreds of years of continuous meditation, worship, and prayers to the Buddha. We rely on these meager beliefs to practice the soul refining technique. The elder explained. Blessing stone. Xia Xingchen's heart trembled. Why have I never heard of this mineral? Don't other planets have it? It only exists on Earth. Don't you want to know about the magic bottle? The blessing stone is related to the magic bottle. The elder said in a deep voice. The legend of Solomon's bottle has been circulating on Earth for tens of thousands of years. Countless people have searched for the whereabouts of the magic bottle, but found nothing. It was not until a few hundred years ago that the founder of the Mengxiu sect received a revelation from God in a dream and found an ancient spaceship in a mine thousands of meters deep. And the magic bottle is in this spaceship. The spaceship of ancient humans. Xia Xingchen's heart skipped a beat. The elder's statement was consistent with Qin Bo Wen's research results. Yes, it is the spaceship of the gods. The gods fought bloody battles and spent a huge price to seal a terrifying demon in a magic bottle. And this magic bottle is sealed in the spaceship. The material of the magic bottle is special. It is a special material that does not exist on Earth or even in the Milky Way. The specific properties are unknown. But what is certain is that the magic bottle is related to faith. You must know that strong magnets will magnetize metals near magnets. The same is true for magic bottles. The ore near the spaceship is also affected and turned into blessing stones that can store faith. The wave said with great wisdom. So that's it. Xia Xingchen suddenly realized that he understood everything now. Practicing the art of refining the spirit at the top of the Tower of Babel will achieve twice the result with half the effort. You stay here to practice for the time being. I will take my brothers and Lee down first to deal with some chores in the monastery. The waif said with great wisdom. Okay. Once I master the art of refining the spirit, I will go down the tower immediately and fulfill my promise. Xia Xingchen nodded. He couldn't wait to practice the art of refining the spirit. Chapter 1553 Impacting the Star Level. The star barrier was opened, and Elder Nabo led the monks and Lee to return to the monastery. Seeing that Xia Xingchen had no intention of leaving the tower, Lee was surprised and asked Elder Nabo, "Is he not going down? The god wants to stay here to practice. We should not disturb him." Elder Nabo bowed to Xia Xingchen with a pious face, then took Lee's arm and walked towards the stairs. "Is he really a god?" Lee turned around and looked at Xia Xingchen deeply. "Yes, he is a god, the messenger of the meditation sect sent by Buddha to save us." Elder Nabo said firmly, turned around and left. Hearing the footsteps coming down the stairs, Xia Xingchen sat in the round pit in the center of the top of the tower, closed his eyes, took a deep breath to calm his mood, and began to draw a meditation picture of the soul refining technique in his mind, while silently reciting the formula and practicing the soul refining technique. In just a few seconds, Xia Xingchen's mind was clear and he entered a deep state of meditation. The Tower of Babel is indeed extraordinary. The speed of entering a meditative state here can be compared with the meditation room built at Star Domain Arc at a high price. Xia Xingchen thought to himself and devoted himself to meditation. 3 hours later, Xia Xingchen exhaled a breath of turbid air, opened his eyes sparkled, and his face was full of joy. "I have mastered the art of refining the soul." The art of refining the soul is a profound meditation technique. Even monks of the Mechas sect need to practice meditation for at least 3 months before they can get a glimpse of the way. However, Xia Xingchen only needed 3 hours to master the art of refining the soul. There are 2 reasons. First, Xia Xingchen is a legendary planetary level peak strongman with strong mental power, and practicing meditation can achieve twice the result with half the effort. Second, the source of faith assists. The art of refining the soul can transform faith into mental power. The power of faith in the source of faith is vast and boundless, which is also of great help in practicing the art of refining the soul. The soul refining technique can really transform faith into spiritual power. Moreover, it is extremely efficient. It is 100 times faster than the original conversion speed. Xia Xingchen was pleasantly surprised. Although he had only practiced for 3 hours, he had already sensed the power of the soul refining technique. A large amount of faith has been transformed into spiritual energy, which is constantly flowing into my mind. Why not strike while the iron is hot and try to break through to see if I can take the opportunity to break through from the planetary level to the stellar level. Xia Xingchen felt the spiritual power in his mind stirring, and the feeling of breaking through was very strong. To break through above the legendary level, not only accumulation is required, but also luck. This kind of opportunity is rare and can only be encountered but not sought. Once missed, there may not be a second chance in 3 to 5 years. Breakthrough. Try to break through. Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged again, using the soul refining technique to transform a large amount of faith, wanting to make a concerted effort to enter the stellar level. Far East Monastery, Church. The elder stood on the high platform, the monks sat behind him, and the women and children were below the stage. "Lee, you are really smart. You actually found the elders. With Elder Nabo in charge, we are saved. At least, we don't have to worry about food anymore." Many people's eyes fell on Lee, praising her. Lee's face flushed. She wanted to defend herself, saying that she really didn't do anything, and it was all Xia Xingchen's credit, but her vanity prevented her from saying it. "Elder Nabo, what should we do next? The evil followers of the demon cult may attack us at any time. Why don't we leave temporarily?" a woman suggested. "No problem." Elder Nabo shook his head with a pious look on his face. "The gods will bless us. We won't go anywhere, just stay here. The demon cult will soon be punished by heaven and destroyed by the gods." God. Many people present were puzzled. At this time, the elders still pinned their hopes on the illusory gods. If there really was a god protecting the Ming-Xiu sect, other monasteries would not be destroyed. It's the man named Chen. Elder Nabo believes he is a god. Lee explained in a low voice. Is that man a god? How is that possible? He is obviously just a human being. Can he protect us and destroy the demon cult? I don't believe it. People's reactions varied. Most people didn't believe it, while a few were skeptical. We have to believe it. Only he can save us, the elder said with a smile. At this moment, a child who was on guard outside suddenly ran into the church, his face full of panic, and shouted, "Oh no! The cultists are driving mechas to attack us." Everyone was panicked, and their faces showed fear. Don't panic. The elder looked solemn, stood up, pressed his hands down, and a strong mental wave spread out, stabilizing everyone's emotions. He walked barefoot and strode out of the door. Standing on the bell tower of the monastery, the elder looked into the distance and saw the end of the desert, with yellow sand rolling, as if a sandstorm was coming. In the sandstorm, hundreds of huge figures were looming, like demons, rushing towards the direction of the monastery. It's really a demon cult. How come there are so many mechas? The elder's forehead was covered with sweat, and his body couldn't stop shaking. Elder, there are too many cultists. How can there be so many? Before, there were only a dozen mechas, and they destroyed our monastery. Now there are hundreds. What should we do now? Escape. Lee also climbed up the bell tower, and saw the group of mechas in the distance. Her face turned pale. Can we escape? The elder smiled bitterly, and shook his head. Then hide. Lee didn't have any good ideas. Hide? Mechas have detection functions, so you can't hide. The elder shook his head again, and finally his eyes fell on the Tower of Babel, and said resolutely, let's go. Go to the bottom of the Tower of Babel, the gods will protect us. You mean that man? Lee bit her lip slightly. Although she didn't think Xia Xingchen was capable of dealing with so many mechas, there was no other way now. Under the leadership of the elder, the women, children, and monks in the monastery all walked out of the monastery, came to the bottom of the Tower of Babel, and sat cross-legged. Swish. In a blink of an eye, hundreds of mechas of the demon cult arrived in front of them and surrounded the Tower of Babel. Why don't these pagans flee? Instead, they leave the monastery and sit down under the tower. A demon cultist was surprised. They are still praying? What's the point of praying? They believe in an evil god. How can it possibly bless them? Another cultist laughed wildly. Yes, the demon Satan we believe in is the only true god. The gods of other religions are all evil gods. The demon cultists all laughed out loud. Chapter 1554 successfully advanced. You can insult us. You are not allowed to insult our faith. A child under 10 years old raised his head and cast an angry look at the demon cultists. The other members of the Ming-Xiu sect were also very angry, with their fists clenched and veins throbbing on their foreheads. For believers, life is secondary, and faith is everything to them. Insulting faith is more painful than killing them. Angry. A demon cultist laughed and drove the mecha into the monastery. He uprooted the Buddha statue on the fountain, moved it back to the Tower of Babel, and smashed it to pieces in front of the Ming-Xiu sect members. While smashing, the demon cultist also cursed, "Don't you have the blessing of gods? Where are the gods? I will smash all the evil gods in the monastery. Let's see if your gods will really come to save you." Gods come? What a good joke. The demon cultists laughed again. They surrounded the people of the Ming-Xiu sect in the middle. They were not in a hurry to kill them, but insulted them for fun, just like a cat playing with a mouse. You guys. Lee couldn't help it anymore. She stood up suddenly and wanted to rush out, using her body to stop the demon cult from destroying the Buddha statue. Lee. The elder grabbed her wrist from behind and pulled her to sit on the ground, pursing her lips, and slowly shook her head. Elder. Lee's beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and she sobbed softly. They are too much. Remember, you must be perseverant. This is the core creed of our meditation sect. The elder whispered. Now, let's pray. Pray to the man at the top of the tower. He will hear the voice of our hearts. He will definitely come to help us. Elder, can he really help us? Lee wiped her tears with the back of her hand. As long as you believe, you can definitely do it. The elder smiled faintly, closed his eyes first, and recited a long prayer scripture. Believe. Now, only believe. Li shook her head, completely put aside her doubts, and prayed softly. Tower of Babel, top of the tower. Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged in the center of the room, with a crystal pyramid suspended above his head. It was no longer the faint white light of the past, but was shining brightly, flashing with strong white light, like a scorching sun. The power of faith in the crystal pyramid was quickly transformed under the stimulation of the soul refining technique, and turned into pure spiritual power, and poured into Xia Xingchen's head. Boom. Xia Xingchen only felt that his consciousness was roaring in his mind, as if a waterfall fell from the sky, constantly impacting and merging into the spiritual ocean. Xia Xingchen felt that his soul was rising and floating in the universe, and saw stars, life, time, space, and everything in the universe. The central part of the universe was a huge black vortex, which was slowly rotating, and constantly swallowing and spitting out energy and matter, which was shocking. Xia Xingchen felt that he had turned into the universe. At this moment, there was only a burst of clarity in his heart. Is this the universe? The universe that I see, feel, and understand is only a small part of the universe. The real universe is vast and infinite. Maybe I will never see the true face of the universe in my entire life, but I'm working hard in this direction. Xia Xingchen was very excited. The pure spiritual power from the source of faith continuously gathered in Xia Xingchen's brain, and at his level of consciousness, it transformed into the prototype of the universe. Xia Xingchen felt his blood boiling, and every brain cell was cheering. These spiritual energies not only strengthened his level of consciousness, but also strengthened his brain cells, and promoted the transformation of the brain. The most important thing for humans is the brain. As long as the brain survives, with the technological level of the Galactic Empire, people can still live. Brain death is a real death. The human body is an extremely weak existence in the universe. Therefore, it is necessary to develop technology, study mechas, and strengthen the body in disguise. However, no matter how powerful the mecha is, it also requires the mecha master to control it. What can be controlled is power. What cannot be controlled is a disaster. Breakthrough. I'm about to be promoted to the star level. This is the only thought left in Xia Xingchen's mind. Boom. The whole brain is immersed in spiritual energy and constantly transforming. At the level of consciousness, the spiritual planet is getting bigger and bigger, surpassing the size of the planet, becoming huge and occupying the entire sea of consciousness. The spiritual planet changes from the size of a planet to the size of a star. This is the most intuitive change in entering the star level. Almost. Xia Xingchen felt that he was only one step away from the star level. If he broke through the last layer of window paper, he could successfully enter the star level. However, the source of faith suddenly dimmed, and the spiritual energy like a waterfall came to an abrupt end. It was interrupted. What's going on? Xia Xingchen was shocked. At this time, the spiritual energy was interrupted. Not only could he not break through to the star level, but his cultivation would also be damaged, falling back to the initial stage of the planet, or even the nebula level. In the worst case, he might fall below the legend. The faith is exhausted. The voice of the old man sounded in Xia Xingchen's mind. So fast? Xia Xingchen was shocked. The spiritual power required to break through the star level was far beyond his expectations. Although the divine refining technique you practiced can quickly transform the power of faith, it is very crude and a lot of faith is wasted. You are too impatient. But in the final analysis, the capacity of the source of faith is too small. If you have that thing, forget it. There is no if. Leo seemed to want to say something, but he swallowed it back halfway through. Oh no. I'm only a little bit away from the star level. It is really only a little bit away. Do I really have to give up, and give up all my previous efforts? Xia Xingchen was unwilling. At this moment, a milky white light of faith came up from the bottom of the Tower of Babel, and gathered in the source of faith. This light of faith was very weak. After being transformed by the source of faith, it was just a small stream, and it was not as shocking as the scene of the waterfall just now. However, it was this weak light of faith that successfully saved the emergency, and made up for the last bit of spiritual energy. Breakthrough. Star level. At the top of the tower, Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged and suddenly opened his eyes. His face was full of surprise. He stretched out his right hand and gently clenched it. Boom. The air thundered. This was the sound of a sonic boom caused by the strong mental power that pressed the air. Star level. I have been promoted to the star level. At the star level, the mental power is even greater. Not only have my domain and superpowers been improved, but I can also drive the beast mecha better and bring out its full performance. Xia Xingchen was ecstatic. But, it's not the time to be happy yet. Xia Xingchen's omniscience domain was instantly expanded. The originally impenetrable walls of the Tower of Babel could now be easily penetrated. He sensed that the followers of the Mengxiu sect under the tower were surrounded by the demon cult's Mechas, and they were constantly beaten and scolded, but they were still praying devoutly. The last ray of faith just now came out of them, and at the critical moment, it helped Xia Xingchen a lot. Chapter 1555. Wildfires cannot be extinguished. Spring breezes bring new life. Forget it, I've had enough fun. Listening to these pagans chanting, I'm full of anxiety. Kill them all. Kill them. We still have to rush back to the main temple to receive the reward. It's so easy to complete the task and destroy the dark cultivation sect. I wonder what reward the leader will give us. It's all thanks to the mechas given by the leader. It's so easy to eradicate the dark cultivation sect. The demon cultists have had enough insults. At first, they thought the monks' anger was a bit fun. Now the monks are just chanting and praying, which is boring. They have lost interest. Their faces are ferocious and their eyes are full of murderous intent. Swish. Hundreds of laser guns are aimed at the followers of the dark cultivation sect. The muzzles are glowing, gathering energy, and can shoot at any time. At this time, whoosh, a huge figure quickly descended from the top of the tower, forming a strong wind pressure on the ground. The demon cultists driving the mechas were actually unstable. Many mechas knelt on one knee and barely supported themselves. It's the gods. That Lord has finally taken action. Our prayers worked. The gods have come to save us. God, you have to be careful. They are outnumbered. A semicircular starry sky barrier appeared, protecting the people of the Mengxiu sect. They were not affected by the wind pressure at all. Looking up at the mecha swooping down from the top of the tower, their eyes shining. Most people felt that they were saved, but a small number of people were still worried. The demon cultists had hundreds of mechas and were very powerful. Xia Xingchen only had one mecha, and 2 fists could not beat 4 hands. Who is it? Enemy attack. There is a mecha swooping down from the top of the tower. 1 mecha? That's funny. Everyone fire at the same time and blow it to ashes. The demon cultists found that Xia Xingchen was alone, and their nervousness was immediately swept away. They sneered, dispersed their formations, turned their guns, locked onto the aerial targets, and prepared to fire together. Xia Xingchen swooped down in the huge beast mecha. When it was still 500 meters from the ground, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The dark golden mecha was already extremely fast, and it even accelerated again, turning into a stream of light. Entering the star level greatly improved Xia Xingchen's mental power. Xia Xingchen was already able to drive the beast mecha normally at the planetary level. However, after the beast mecha was equipped with the life scroll, the mental power consumed increased exponentially. It even reached the point where Xia Xingchen could not afford it. However, after Xia Xingchen entered the star level, his mental power was enough to drive the beast mecha in perfect form. Boom. Energy burst. The beast mecha suddenly stopped at a height of 100 meters from the ground, and its whole body glowed, turning into a scorching sun. The mental power turned into thousands of silver spears, which sprinkled down like sunlight. What a terrifying energy fluctuation. The demon cultists were all terrified. Puff puff puff. Xia Xingchen was too lazy to use too many moves, just turned his mental power into a spear and projected it from mid-air. In an instant, nearly half of the demon cult mechas were pierced by the silver spears and exploded, killing all the mecha operators. The remaining demon cult mechas were also seriously damaged. This was because Xia Xingchen was afraid that it would affect the people of the dark cultivation sect, so he deliberately held back. Otherwise, according to his current strength, he could destroy hundreds of mechas with one strike. Satan. What kind of mecha is this? Who is he? Why is he so powerful? The remaining demon cultists were all stunned. Run. Run. Run separately. The remaining demon cultists lost their fighting spirit and wanted to escape. Can you escape? Xia Xingchen sneered, and his right hand was empty. Silver spears appeared in the hands of the beast god Mecha, and they were thrown out one by one. Boom boom boom. A silver light flashed, and a demon cult Mecha fell to the ground and exploded. God. It is really a power that only gods can have. I'm guilty. I actually doubted God. A young man in the crowd of the dark cultivation sect was terrified. Hundreds of demon cult mechas were slaughtered by him in less than a minute. This is too powerful. The people of the dark cultivation sect watched from the side. Each of them was shocked, and they felt their throats dry, and couldn't help swallowing saliva. To prevent them from going back to report the news, kill them all. They are all cultists anyway, none of them are good. Xia Xingchen never showed mercy to his enemies. Even if one demon cultist escaped, the Far East Monastery would be in danger. It took Xia Xingchen 10 minutes to shoot down all the demon cult mechas, and he used the omniscience field to explore one by one, confirming that the mecha masters had no signs of life, and then returned to the Tower of Babel. God. Lord God. Everyone in the dark cultivation sect looked pious and knelt down to worship Xia Xingchen. That wave elder, what did you say to them? Xia Xingchen saw that everyone regarded him as a god and was speechless. I didn't say anything. I just told a few facts. That wave elder smiled and said vaguely, Xia Xingchen likes to be respected and worshipped, but he doesn't like others to worship him like a god. Xia Xingchen called the elder aside and said, Elder, thank you for teaching me the art of refining the spirit. It's very useful. I have been promoted to the star level, and from your prayers just now, I also gained some light of faith, which helped me overcome the difficulties in time. Star level? You were promoted to the star level so quickly? The elder was shocked, looking Xia Xingchen up and down, as if he was looking at a monster. After a long time, the elder sighed. Maybe, you are really the reincarnation of a god. Xia Xingchen waved his hands. Elder, although I destroyed the demon cult's mecha group and repelled the attack, the demon cult will definitely not give up and will definitely send more mechas. Therefore, I'm ready to set out immediately to destroy the demon cult's main temple. Please tell me the coordinates of the main temple. I will tell you the coordinates later. But, even if you destroy the demon cult's main temple, will the demon cult be destroyed? No, the vitality of religion is more tenacious than you think. Wildfires cannot be extinguished, and spring breezes will bring them back to life. The elder's eyes flickered. Indeed. I destroyed the main temple. Even if I killed all of them, they still have branch temples. Even if all the branch temples are destroyed, their believers have infiltrated other planets. I can't kill all the demon believers, and I can't really destroy the demon cult. But if I don't completely destroy the demon cult, the Far East Monastery will be in danger sooner or later. Xia Xingchen frowned, looking embarrassed. Change your thinking. Don't just think about using violence to solve the problem. Dealing with religion from the inside out, from top to bottom, is much easier than from the outside in. The elder smiled faintly and instructed. Elder, what do you mean? Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, and already understood what the elder meant. No, I didn't say anything. No matter how cruel and vicious the method is, it's all your idea, and it has nothing to do with me. I just want the devil cult to be destroyed. The elder showed an unfathomable and cunning smile on his face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1556 Satan's Coming. Earth. Xia Xingchen left the Far East Monastery. The mecha turned on the Mirage system, completely invisible, and flew towards the coordinates of the demon cult headquarters that the elder told him. The demon cult headquarters is located underground. It is a huge underground city with 50,000 to 60,000 residents. Most of these residents are demon cultists, and there are many ordinary people living here. Xia Xingchen soon arrived at this underground city called Fallen City, easily mixed in, and walked on the streets of the city. The city is prosperous, with bright lights and wine, and pedestrians everywhere. The goods in the shops on both sides of the street are full of sight. In addition to humans, you can even see some aliens. The history of the demon cult is also very long, and the scope of its spread is very large. Even some aliens believe in the demon cult. The power of religion is really strong. Xia Xingchen couldn't help but sigh. Religion is a kind of thought, illusory. It is obviously impossible to destroy thoughts with brute force, let alone the branch of the demon cult. Even in this fallen city, Xia Xingchen can't kill all the demon cultists in it. Moreover, although the devil cult is a cult, many of its followers are just ordinary people who have been bewitched by the cult and are not guilty of death. Thanks to the advice of the Elder Wave, to destroy religion, we cannot rely on brute force alone, but on wisdom. Xia Xingchen walked to a huge church. Above the church stood a huge statue of a demon with huge bat wings behind it, horns on its head, and raging flames in its hands. It is the god of the devil cult, the lord of hell Satan. Inside the church is a majestic hall, which is no different from a Christian church, except that the light is dimmer. From the back of the hall, music and laughter came, and many people were drinking and having fun. The leader Thomas sat on the throne, and a beautiful woman with a trance-like expression nestled in his arms like a cat. "Beauty, come, have another drink." Thomas brought a glass of scarlet wine and poured a bag of white powder into it in front of the beauty. The woman couldn't wait, grabbed the wine glass, drank the drugged wine in one gulp, and showed a satisfied expression on her beautiful face. "Ha ha ha, the taste of bliss is good, isn't it?" Thomas laughed, his hands wandering freely on the woman's body. His eyes fell on the center of the hall, where a group of seductive women in red veils were dancing. Their dance was full of provocative flavor, and every movement could make men secrete a large amount of hormones. The men watching the dance next to them were dazed, with infatuation on their faces. Women and drugs were Thomas' second method of controlling the followers of the demon cult. The first method was violence. Thomas used a two-pronged approach to rapidly expand the power of the demon cult, especially after he established a relationship with the imperial regent Qin Yun. The power expanded even more. Throughout the entire earth, the power of the demon cult could be ranked in the top 10. Suddenly, "Thomas, you have committed the sin of blasphemy. Come out and confess your sin." A cold voice suddenly appeared and echoed in the hall. Not only the hall, but everyone in the entire fallen city heard this majestic and deep voice. "What's that sound? Who is provoking the leader? Something bad has happened. Someone has sneaked into the city to deal with the leader." The streets of the fallen city were crowded with people. After hearing this sound, everyone stopped and looked around, trying to find out who was provoking. "How dare you break into the fallen city? You are so brave." Thomas was furious. He waved his hand, opened a secret room, and rushed out of the church in a mecha. Behind Thomas, a large number of demon believers also rushed out in Mechas. However, when they arrived in front of the church, they looked up and saw the huge figure that made the sound, and they were all stunned. In the square in front of the church, there was a huge black figure with huge bat wings, sharp horns on his head, and flames burning in his hands. It was exactly the same as the statue of Satan above the church. Lord Satan. Many believers were frightened and subconsciously wanted to kneel down and worship. "Stupid, can't you see it's a mecha? Someone is pretending to be Lord Satan, and the crime is even more serious." Deputy Leader Johnny was driving a mecha and rushed over, followed by more than 100 mechas, the guards of the fallen city, and said coldly, "Capture this thief and cut him into pieces." "Yes." The guards shouted, divided into 10 teams, surrounded the huge figure of Satan, and launched an attack. "Kill! Kill!" The laser beam shot out in all directions, illuminating the fallen city like daylight, and the shouts of killing, gunfire and explosions made the fallen city a mess. The person driving this Satan mecha was naturally Xia Xingchen. As the top mecha designer in the galaxy, Xia Xingchen did not spend too much effort to modify the beast god mecha, and the appearance looked no different from the Satan statue of the demon cult. Xia Xingchen was not going to attack blindly, but was going to pretend to be the god of the demon cult, from top to bottom, to subdue the demon cult, and control it in his own hands. "Idiot. How dare you pretend to be our god? You are simply courting death. How can a mecha master like you compare to the power of Lord Satan?" Johnny sneered as he commanded the guards to besiege Xia Xingchen from behind. "Johnny, you dare to attack me. I will punish you for your disrespect." The deep voice resounded between heaven and earth. The huge Satan raised his hand and pointed in Johnny's direction. A black flame flew over in an instant, directly covering Johnny's figure. Ah! Ah! Johnny only had time to scream twice before his body burned to ashes in the mecha. Surprisingly, only Johnny died, while the mecha was intact. Is the deputy leader dead? What was the fire just now? Could it be the legendary hellfire? The believers were all stunned. They did not dare to continue to attack Xia Xingchen, and their faces were full of suspicion. Xia Xingchen did not even look at them, and walked straight to the front of the church. A team of Mechas was already standing in front of the church. The leader was Thomas, driving a black demon mecha. The body of the mecha could be called tall, but in front of the 100-meter high beast god mecha, it was like a dwarf. Did you see it clearly just now? Johnny died as soon as I stretched out my hand. What kind of attack method is this? Is it a punishment from God? I only saw the black flame. Only the dark flames in hell are black. Maybe it really is. Several believers were terrified and whispered. Xia Xingchen pretended to be Satan, and even he himself felt it was outrageous. Does anyone really believe in hell in the world? There are demons living in hell. Xia Xingchen is an atheist, so he naturally thinks this is incredible. However, the believers of the demon cult believe in the existence of Satan. From the day they joined the demon cult, they were constantly brainwashed, believing that Satan exists and is the only true god in charge of everything in the universe. Chapter 1557 Supporting Puppet. You said you are Satan? Thomas looked up at the beast mecha with interest. Thomas. Xia Xingchen looked down at Thomas, murderous intent in his eyes. His omniscient domain unfolded to explore Thomas's information. Thomas's mental power is very strong, and he is a legendary Nebula Peak strongman. You are very strong. If you are willing to convert to the demon cult, the position of the deputy leader who just killed Johnny will be yours. Thomas was not panicked, and laughed loudly. The demon cult has everything: women, money, power. As long as you are willing to surrender to me, you can get all the glory and wealth in the world. Xia Xingchen said coldly. Thomas, you are blaspheming God. Thomas was slightly startled, and laughed strangely. You really think you are a god? What a madman. In fact, as the leader of the demon cult, Thomas only used the demon cult as a tool to make money. Even he himself did not believe that there is a god in the world. God is too illusory. Only power is real. Whoever has power is a real god. Thomas shouted. Stubborn. Xia Xingchen's eyes were full of disdain. Go ahead. You only have one chance to do it. Otherwise, the divine punishment will come, and you will be reduced to ashes. Arrogant. Thomas roared, and a thick black cloud gathered above the mecha, forming a huge vortex, like a funnel. Thomas tried his best, as soon as he made a move, fully unfolding his domain, wanting to kill Xia Xingchen in one fell swoop. Domain? Xia Xingchen looked at Thomas calmly. Thomas's domain was the lightning domain. The mecha held two electric forks in his hands, shining brightly. In the black cloud vortex in the sky, blue lightning beams kept falling. Thunder after thunder, like a roaring electric dragon, struck towards the beast god mecha under the command of Thomas. Heart of Thunder, collect. Xia Xingchen did not move, and the core part of the beast god mecha began to operate, flashing a light blue light, which was the Heart of Thunder. The Heart of Thunder is the core of the Azure Dragon mecha. After the four holy beast mechas merged, the Heart of Thunder naturally became a part of the beast god mecha. Crack, crack, crack. The thunder was so powerful that it hit the beast god mecha, but it was all absorbed, leaving nothing behind. The Heart of Thunder harnessed the power of thunder and lightning and absorbed all the thunder and lightning energy. What? Thomas was dumbfounded. In previous battles, he had always been invincible, as long as he used the thunder field. With the addition of the mecha, the field was fully powerful, and could even destroy half of the fallen city. However, when it hit the opponent, there was no reaction at all. Could it really be a god? Thomas didn't believe that there were gods in the world, but at this moment, seeing Xia Xingchen's terrifying power, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. The demon cultists watching around were also stunned. Some people couldn't help but kneel down to worship and pray. Flames of destruction. Xia Xingchen waved his hand, and the whole body of the beast god mecha burned with black flames. It was the flames of destruction of the Suzuki mecha. Boom. The flames of destruction instantly enveloped Thomas and burned wildly. The The flames of destruction burn everything. Even the stars will be burned to ashes, let alone Thomas, a mere human. Thomas was burning with flames all over his body and screamed wildly. He was a legendary and could hold on longer than Johnny. But it was useless. The longer he held on, the more pain he endured. Thomas jumped off the mecha and rolled on the ground, eventually leaving a black human-shaped mark on the ground. On the streets of the fallen city, countless people saw everything that had just happened, especially the human-shaped scorch marks on the ground, which made them all terrified. One move. The leader Thomas is dead. What kind of terrifying power is this? Is it really Lord Satan? Lord Satan has descended. People shouted loudly. Greetings to God. Among Thomas's men, a brown-haired man was the first to react. He knelt in front of the beast god Mecha, bowed 3 times and kowtowed 9 times. Extremely pious. Greetings to God Satan. Suddenly, the people around him woke up, as if from a dream. They knelt down one by one, worshipping Xia Xingchen with great respect. In the blink of an eye, everyone in the fallen city knelt on the ground. Xia Xingchen's eyes swept over these people, and he couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. To be honest, Xia Xingchen's plan to impersonate Satan was full of loopholes. But this plan, as the elder had expected, was incredibly smooth. Before leaving, the elder had said to Xia Xingchen, "What is God? God is a symbol of power. For us humans, Shinran is God. Isn't the largest religion in the empire the Shinran religion? What we worship is not God, but a powerful force that can change the world. And you have this power. In my eyes, you are God." The elder worshipped Xia Xingchen as a god. The followers of the demon cult have been brainwashed by the cult for many years, and they are confused about right and wrong, good and evil. Without the wisdom of the elder, they are more easily bewitched, and really regard Xia Xingchen as the devil Satan. From today on, you are the new leader of the demon cult. Xia Xingchen pointed at the brown-haired man and said lightly. After he entered the star level, his mental power became stronger, and his omniscience field also underwent a transformation. In the past, Xia Xingchen's omniscience field could only feel other people's emotions to infer their thoughts. But now, Xia Xingchen can directly spy on other people's memories. For example, this brown-haired man, Xia Xingchen knew that his name was Hanmi, just an ordinary follower who had just joined the demon cult, with a wife and a daughter at home. He had just joined the demon cult, and had not done anything bad. Of course, Xia Xingchen's prying into other people's memories consumed extremely terrifying mental power. Moreover, the mental level must be very different to be able to spy. If it was a legendary strongman, Xia Xingchen would not be able to even feel emotions, let alone spy on memories. Me? The new leader? Hanmi looked confused. Ah. How did he know my name? Hanmi suddenly realized that Xia Xingchen had called out his name directly. I know everything. Xia Xingchen said lightly. Great God Satan. Hanmi crawled on the ground, surprised and happy. From now on, you are my messenger, my spokesperson in the mortal world. Whoever dares to resist you is resisting me. Kill them all without mercy. The majestic voice echoed in the fallen city. The huge figure of Satan suddenly disappeared, as if it had never existed. At this moment, Xia Xingchen had already driven the beast god Mecha and teleported out of the fallen city. God is mysterious and unknown. The more mysterious it is, the more believers believe in it. If Xia Xingchen stays in the fallen city as Satan, it won't take long for him to be exposed. Xia Xingchen has killed Thomas, the original leader of the devil cult, and has supported a puppet Hanmi as the new leader. The purpose has been achieved. As long as Xia Xingchen's voice sounds in Hanmi's mind, he will obey him. Chapter 1558 Solomon's Abyss. Xia Xingchen did not stay away, but lurked in the fallen city, observing the actions of the new leader Hanmi. Hanmi had just joined the demon cult not long ago, with a weak foundation and very few confidants under his command. As expected by Xia Xingchen, in just a few days, several core members of the demon cult began to disobey Hanmi, openly provoking him, and not taking Hanmi, the leader, seriously. In secret, they even wooed the believers, preparing to rebel, kill Hanmi, and replace him. At night, in a house in the fallen city, several core members of the demon cult were plotting. How can Hanmi, this guy, be the leader? Who is he? Shh, keep your voice down. Our conversation will not be heard by the great god Satan. How is it possible? The gods have never appeared. Since they disappeared that day, they should have left. The universe is so big, and the gods are very busy. After a discussion, several people decided to lead the believers to attack the church at midnight today, kill Hanmi, and establish a new leader. At this moment, Hanmi was completely in the dark and had no idea that bad luck had come. However, the conspiracy of these people could not escape Xia Xingchen's omniscience. In the demon church, Hanmi was sleeping soundly and suddenly woke up. Lord Satan, is that you? Lord Satan? Hanmi had just dreamed of a demon shadow in his sleep, telling him that a group of apostates had been punished by God, and asked him to deal with the aftermath. Hanmi shouted in the hall for a long time, but there was no response. The dream just now was extremely real. Hanmi did not dare to neglect it. He quickly put on his clothes and brought a group of believers to the place where he was instructed in the dream. Sure enough, he found more than a dozen human-shaped scorch marks. The way these people died was exactly the same as Thomas and Johnny. Master, after investigation, they are indeed several powerful people in the church. They have made many small moves recently, and it seems that they are plotting against you. A believer whispered. You just found out that someone was plotting a rebellion now? Hanmi glared at the believer, and in front of everyone, he knelt on the ground and prayed to the statue of Satan and the church. Thank you, great god Satan. The divine punishment has come and punished these apostates. The other believers also knelt down and prayed. Hanmi did not conceal the news of these people's deaths, but instead publicized it. Not only in the fallen city, but also in several other cities controlled by the demon cult. There are legends that Satan appeared and punished apostates. Even the fact that Satan appeared and executed the former leader Thomas was publicized as a miracle. In the next few days, Xia Xingchen secretly killed several apostates, which made Hanmi's position as the leader completely secure. And Hanmi's admiration for Satan also reached its peak. Xia Xingchen sent a message directly to Hanmi in his mind, and he obeyed her. Almost. Xia Xingchen sent a message again, asking Hanmi to directly change the basic doctrines of the demon cult. Xia Xingchen did not understand religion, let alone what the doctrines of the demon cult were. However, Elder Nabo has a very deep study of the doctrine of the demon religion. Before leaving, Elder Nabo informed Xia Xingchen of the doctrine that he was going to tamper with. According to Elder Nabo's speculation, if the demon religion really changes its original doctrine, the religion will not disappear, but it will become more moderate than before, and lose its original offensiveness and aggression. Only in this way can the demon religion be fundamentally destroyed. Yes, great Lord Satan. Hanmi had no doubts, and changed the basic doctrine of the demon religion according to Xia Xingchen's words. This reform was implemented from top to bottom. The opponents had been cleared out by Xia Xingchen, and the remaining believers obeyed Hanmi's words. As for those believers at the bottom, they didn't even know what the basic doctrine of the demon religion was. Therefore, this reform was implemented very smoothly. After confirming that Hanmi's position was stable, Xia Xingchen returned to the Far East Monastery and found Elder Nabo. What? In such a short time, you have supported a new leader and successfully changed the basic doctrine of the demon religion. Elder Nabo was shocked and looked unbelievable. Elder, it's just as you expected. The whole plan went very smoothly without any difficulties. But can this really destroy the demon cult? Xia Xingchen said. Yes, it will. If the new doctrine is successfully implemented, then the demon cult will be transformed imperceptibly. Of course, this will take a long time. Elder Nabo laughed. Hearing Elder Nabo say this, Xia Xingchen had no choice but to nod. The Mengxiu sect and the demon cult are mortal enemies. Even if Elder Nabo thinks that this can destroy the demon cult, Xia Xingchen will not say much. However, Xia Xingchen believes that reform is accompanied by bloodshed and sacrifice. Elder Nabo's method is too gentle. It's a bit strange. The Mengxiu sect is such a gentle and peaceful sect. How did it offend the demon cult and forge such a deep hatred with them? Xia Xingchen was very curious. Solomon's Abyss. The elder said in a low voice, it's because of Solomon's Abyss. The dark cult and the demon cult successively discovered the hiding place of Solomon's bottle, which is Solomon's Abyss. Therefore, for hundreds of years, they have been fighting for the ownership of this abyss. The final result is that we were defeated and gave up the exploration of the abyss. For nearly 100 years, the demon cult and the dark cult have been living in peace until Qin Yun came. It's Qin Yun. Xia Xingchen clenched his hands tightly, his face showing anger. Qin Yun wanted to enter Solomon's Abyss to find the magic bottle, so he used a large number of mecha weapons to win over the demon cult. Qin Yun also sent people to win over the dark cult, but was rejected. In his anger, he provoked the relationship between the demon cult and us, causing the dark cult to suffer a devastating disaster. The elder said, "Rejection is reasonable. Elder, tell me the location of Solomon's Abyss. I want to stop Qin Yun. If Qin Yun gets the magic bottle and releases the imprisoned celestial being inside, humanity may be destroyed." Xia Xingchen has seen the power of celestial beings, and even killed a mechanical celestial being with his own hands. Of course, that's because the main body of the mechanical Kang has no way to enter the Milky Way, so it can only send a clone to enter, and Xia Xingchen took advantage of it. If it's a real celestial being, not to mention that Xia Xingchen is not an opponent, the entire human race will be destroyed. Solomon's Abyss has been controlled by Qin Yun. His army is stationed there. In addition, he has also hired more than a dozen legendary mecha masters at a high salary, among which the Angel of Light Michael is in charge. You will die in vain if you break into the abyss alone. The elder said. It's dangerous. It must be extremely dangerous. But Qin Yun must be stopped. Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. The elder stared at Xia Xingchen for a long time. Then he sighed. Well, I can see that you are willing to take risks for the sake of humanity. I can't let you go alone. It just so happens that Qin Yun's messenger is in the monastery and has issued us an ultimatum. Let me go to Solomon's Abyss and help open the ancient human spaceship that contains the magic bottle. I was going to refuse. But, for you, for humanity, I decided to accept Qin Yun's invitation. Chapter 1559. Changes in the world. Elder, are you going to agree to Qin Yun's request? Help him find the magic bottle? Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, looking at the elder with a wave and surprise. The elder with a wave smiled and said nothing. Xia Xingchen immediately understood that the elder was not going to help Qin Yun, but to help himself. The elder with a wave pretended to agree to Qin Yun, but actually helped Xia Xingchen to pass through Qin Yun's starship mecha army, enter Solomon's Abyss, and wait for an opportunity to seize the magic bottle. This is indeed the safest way. Elder with a wave. Xia Xingchen was moved and tightly grasped the elder's skinny wrist. To do this, elder with a wave would have to sacrifice too much, and it would also be very dangerous. If Qin Yun knew that he was mixed up with the dark cultivation sect, not only elder with a wave, but the entire dark cultivation sect would be in calamity. The Buddha once said, if I don't go to hell, who will? Besides, compared with your sacrifice, what is my contribution? Elder with a wave said with a smile. Thank you, Elder. I will definitely find a way to ensure your safety. Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. Let's go and meet the messenger. Elder Nabo smiled and handed Xia Xingchen a brown monk's robe. Xia Xingchen used a camouflage device to change his face, making himself look like a skinny ascetic monk. He put on the monk's robe and followed Elder Nabo to the church in the center of the monastery. Before he got close to the church, he heard someone roaring inside. Where is Elder Nabo? Let him come to see me. I tell you, my time is limited, and I won't wait here. Then, there was a sound of broken pots and several women escaped with panic on their faces. One of them was Li. Li happened to meet Elder Nabo, looked at Xia Xingchen behind him strangely, and whispered, Elder, who is he? Why haven't I seen him before? He is my junior brother, named Namo, who just finished his retreat. Elder Nabo said with an unchanged expression. Oh. Li looked at Xia Xingchen for a few times, and then lost interest in this skinny monk. She said anxiously, Elder, Lieutenant Colonel Sidon is angry again, throwing things around. He also threatened us. The elder laughed and nodded. I'll deal with it. Xia Xingchen and the elder entered the church, and saw a blond man wearing a black imperial officer uniform. He was in his early 30s, a little fat, and was walking back and forth anxiously. Ah. Elder. Lieutenant Colonel Sidon was slightly startled when he saw the elder. He hurried over to salute. it can be seen that he still respects the elder very much. Lieutenant Colonel. The elder bowed slightly in return. Elder, what do you think? This is the third time I have invited you. If you still don't agree, I really can't go back to report. Maybe you think the reward is not generous enough. I promise you that if you agree, I will definitely. Lieutenant Colonel Sidden said. I agree. The elder interrupted Lieutenant Colonel Sidden before he finished speaking. Elder, please don't be so hasty to reject me. Lieutenant Colonel Sidden didn't react and subconsciously thought that Elder Nabo had rejected him again. I said, I agree. Elder Nabo repeated. Elder, you agree. Lieutenant Colonel Sidden was stunned, and then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Did I hear correctly? You really agree? Yes, I agree. Elder Nabo smiled, but I have a condition. I want to go with my junior brother Namo. His research on the abyss is even better than mine. Xia Xingchen walked up and imitated Elder Nabo's way of saluting, putting his palms together and bowing slightly as a salute. Master Namo. Lieutenant Colonel Sidden quickly returned the greeting and said in a deep voice, of course. It would be a great honor to have Master Namo to go to the abyss with us. Lieutenant Colonel Sidden agreed very straightforwardly, as if he was afraid that Elder Namo would change his mind again, and immediately urged them to set off. After a while, a small airship arrived above the Far East Monastery and landed in the open space in front of the Tower of Babel. Elder Namo called Lee over and explained the trivial matters of the monastery. Together with Xia Xingchen, he followed Lieutenant Colonel Sidden and boarded the Imperial airship. This is a Vulture standard airship commonly seen in the Empire. It is often used as a means of transportation within the planet and has a very fast speed. After boarding the airship, Elder Namo sat down in a cabin, crossed his legs, closed his eyes and rested. Xia Xingchen sat next to Elder Namo. Two masters, it will take us 2 hours to reach our destination. There are drinks and food here. If Lieutenant Colonel Sidden finally completed the task and invited Elder Namo and was particularly attentive. No, thank you. The elder waved his hand. Oh, then I won't disturb the two elders' meditation. Lieutenant Colonel Sidden hurriedly left the small cabin. Xingchen. The elder wave already knew Xia Xingchen's true identity. Even on Earth, which is countless light years away from the Empire, there are some legends about Xia Xingchen. Elder. Xia Xingchen lowered his voice. Our destination is Solomon's Abyss, the place where the ancient human spacecraft sleeps. In history, countless people have searched for this place, but all failed. Do you know why? The elder wave asked. Human technology can already explore the starry sky. However, there are still some places on the planet that are restricted and cannot be detected so far. One is the seabed, and the other is the center of the earth. I guess that Solomon's Abyss is located on the seabed. Xia Xingchen thought for a while and said, sure enough. The elder wave praised. The place we are going to was formerly called the Mariana Trench, and some people call it the Devil's Abyss. It is located in the Pacific Ocean, near the Mariana Islands. It was once the deepest trench on Earth. I've heard of this place. It's said that the deepest part is more than 10,000 meters deep. Unless it's a special mecha or a submarine, it's impossible to dive to such a deep seabed. Xia Xingchen frowned. The sea has dried up long ago. The elder sighed, stood in front of the porthole, pointed to the thousands of miles of yellow sand on the ground, and whispered, we are now above the Pacific Ocean. The sea has changed so much that there is no drop of water here. What? This is the Pacific Ocean? Xia Xingchen was shocked and looked at the ground. Sure enough, he could see some strangely shaped stone branches. Those were coral reefs on the seabed. It's a war. That war completely wiped out the human beings on Earth. The terrain has also changed dramatically. The mountains were razed to the ground and the sea turned into a desert. The entire planet was shrouded in radiation clouds, and no creatures could survive on Earth. The Earth that gave birth to mankind was completely destroyed by humans, until the explorers from the Empire returned to Earth. Then, pilgrims from various religions established bases on Earth, looking for water sources and reclaiming farmland. The Earth began to slowly recover and regain some vitality. But overall, the Earth is still a barren land, and even food and water are scarce. The old man sighed. Chapter 1560. Experts are everywhere. Earth, the mother of mankind's many disasters. Xia Xingchen also sighed. Two masters, we have arrived above the abyss. Please do not walk around casually, let alone leave the cabin. Lieutenant Colonel Sidon came over and reminded respectfully. Well, I know. The elder nodded gently, looked out the window, and said to Xia Xingchen with a smile, Junior brother, this is Solomon's Abyss. Xia Xingchen curiously saw outside the window that there were starships covering the sky and blocking the sky tightly. Countless transport boats and mechas were like ants, shuttling between the starships. These mechas are the elite of the Empire. I have seen more than tens of thousands of them. What's more, on several starships, I can feel more than a dozen powerful auras. They are legendary strongmen, and there are even stellar level terrifying existences. Xia Xingchen was scared. Thanks to the elder, who came up with this idea, Kinyan was deceived into entering the abyss as a sect of the Dark Cultivators. Otherwise, with Xia Xingchen's strength, if he went into the abyss alone, the success rate would be less than 10%. There are so many masters here that it is too dangerous. At this moment, in the meditation rooms of several starships, 7 old men suddenly opened their eyes, with astonishment in their eyes, and looked at the vulture airship, where Xia Xingchen was below. Nangang. Did you notice it too? There are 2 legends on that airship. A bald old man opened his eyes and said to the old man in white robe beside him, well, there are indeed 2 strange legends. One is weaker, only nebula level. The other is terrifying. The mental power level is not lower than ours. Nangangzu frowned slightly. Old man, ask someone to check the identities of the 2 people. Well, check it out. There are such terrifying masters in this desolate place on Earth. It's really unexpected. The old man touched his bald head with surprise in his eyes. Not only Nangangzu and the old man, but also the other 5 legendary masters, noticed the existence of Xia Xingchen at the first time, felt a strong sense of oppression, and immediately asked someone to find out his identity. 7 legendary masters want the identity information of these 2 people at the same time. Major Wiener, who was in charge of intelligence work, did not dare to neglect it. He immediately contacted Lieutenant Colonel Sidon on the Vulture airship and asked for the basic information of the 2 elders, Nabo and Namo, and sent it to the 7 legendary masters. So they are monks from the Mengxiu sect? The white-robed old man Nangangzu looked up at the virtual image in the air, which showed the photos and basic information of Nabo and Namo. No wonder their mental power is so strong, but they are unknown in the starry sky. The old man nodded. Practitioners like them only value mental power cultivation, oppose technology, and advocate nature, especially the Mengxiu sect. I'm afraid these 2 legends can't even drive mechas. Well, I heard that they were invited by the regent to help explore the abyss. After all, the Mengxiu sect was the first to discover the existence of the magic bottle and studied it for hundreds of years, leaving behind many classics. Another legendary master also sent a message through mental power. It is useless for monks who cannot drive mechas to have high mental power. Their combat power is not as good as that of C-class mecha divisions. They are not worth worrying about. Let them enter the abyss. Nangangzu's eyes flashed with contempt, and he shifted his attention away from Xia Xingchen. Lieutenant Colonel Sidon, you have obtained the permission to pass. Please follow the pilot mecha in front to enter the military restricted area. A silver-white mecha flew in front of the Vulture airship and led the way. The Vulture airship slowly descended and entered the huge crack. There were straight cliffs on both sides. The original trench had become a huge canyon 10,000 meters deep. The entire canyon was tightly sealed and designated as a military restricted area. No one could enter unless they obtained permission from the Imperial military. In the canyon, mecha patrols could be seen from time to time. In addition to the patrols, there were also large and small checkpoints, with countless open and secret sentries, and the guards were extremely strict. Every time Xia Xingchen descended 1,000 meters, he felt a strong mental power repeatedly detecting. This was a legendary master hidden in the canyon, who had already noticed Xia Xingchen's existence. However, after learning that he was a monk from the Mengxiu sect, these legendary masters lost interest in Xia Xingchen and immediately moved away to patrol other places, including the 7 legends above the canyon. I have encountered 15 legends in just a short while. I'm afraid that there are no less than 10 legends at the bottom of the canyon. Qin Yan actually invited so many legends to come. He must have spent a lot of money. He is really determined to get the bottle of Solomon. My previous thoughts were too naive. With so many legendary patrol guards, I can't force my way in. The chance of sneaking in is also very low. There are many legends who are good at sensing supernatural powers. My mental power is too strong to hide from them. Xia Xingchen thought to himself. Bang! The airship shook. Lieutenant Colonel Sidon came over and said respectfully, "Two masters, we have arrived at the bottom of the canyon. Please follow me." "To see the regent?" asked the elder. "Regent?" Lieutenant Colonel Sidon was slightly startled, then laughed. "His Highness Qin Yan is busy with all kinds of affairs. How could he be in such a place? He is on the Imperial Royal Starship in the outer orbit of the Earth, handling Imperial affairs. The person we want to see is General Liu, the commander of this operation." Sure enough, Qin Yan is not here. Xia Xingchen secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He knew Qin Yan's character very well. He must be living a life of luxury somewhere and will not come to the front line until the exploration has made some progress. It's good that Qin Yan is not here. Qin Yan's mental power is not worth mentioning in Xia Xingchen's eyes now, and he will definitely not see through Xia Xingchen's disguise. However, Qin Yan is a very shrewd person, good at observing words and expressions, and may be able to see some flaws from Xia Xingchen's gestures. Xia Xingchen has never heard of this General Liu, who should also be Qin Yan's confidant brought back from the Imperial Expeditionary Force. Xia Xingchen and Elder Nabo followed Lieutenant Colonel Sidon under the protection of Mecha Squad and came to a temporary command post made of reinforced concrete. Inside the command post, they met General Liu. General Liu had black hair and wore a neat black general uniform. His facial features were three-dimensional and handsome, but his mental state was not very good. His eyes were bloodshot, and he kept yawning. "Two masters." General Liu was obviously very tired, but when he heard that the two masters of the Ming-Xiu sect had arrived, he quickly stood up to greet them, walked in front of Xia Xingchen and Nabo, and saluted with his hands together. "General." Nabo and Xia Xingchen returned the salute. "Two masters, you are finally here. With your help, our chances of entering the secret realm will increase by 10%. General Liu held Elder Nabo's hand tightly and said excitedly, "General, it has been several months. Haven't you entered the secret realm yet?" Elder Nabo looked stunned. Chapter 1561 Broken Energy Gate. It's not that easy to enter the secret realm. General Liu sighed. "We are still stuck in front of the broken energy gate." "It is indeed that gate." The elder nodded slightly, as if he had expected it long ago. Broken energy gate. Xia Xingchen showed curiosity. The place where the ancient human spacecraft crashed is at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Some people even believe that this 10,000 meter deep trench was cut out by high energy beams in the war that year. The elder whispered to Xia Xingchen mentally, "To blast a 10,000 meter deep trench on a planet, I'm afraid it can only be done by a star destroyer." Xia Xingchen secretly smacked his lips. In the past, human technology was insufficient, and it was impossible to detect the bottom of the trench. It was not until the Third World War that a nuclear war broke out. The terrain changed, the sea dried up, and the trench turned into a canyon. Later, Master Langzhou of the Mingxiu sect found the location of this secret realm, based on the ancient memories awakened in his genes. And the first level to enter the secret realm is this broken energy gate. You will know what it is when you see it with your own eyes. The elder continued. "Yeah." Xia Xingchen suppressed his curiosity. After a short rest, he left the temporary command post accompanied by General Liu and walked towards the entrance of the secret realm, the broken energy gate. The entrance to the secret realm is located deep in a cave. The tunnel is tortuous and deep, and the environment is humid, like a path to hell. There are traces of mining on the stone walls of the cave. Some traces are very new, and some traces are very old. It looks like hundreds of years have passed. These are traces of mining blessing stones. The elder explained. Not only the Mingxiu sect, but dozens of sects have come here to mine blessing stones. RRR. Getting closer and closer to the bottom of the cave, suddenly heard a miserable wailing. Xia Xingchen frowned and looked at General Liu. "Haha, it's okay, it's okay. General Luok smiled and comforted softly. Keep going forward. Not only the wailing is getting louder, but also a strong smell of blood is coming from the front. The elder obviously smelled the blood and turned to Xia Xingchen and blinked, telling him not to act rashly. Finally, they reached the bottom of the cave, and the front suddenly opened up to an extremely vast space, covering tens of thousands of square meters. In the center of the cave, there was a deep pit with a diameter of 100 meters, and amazing energy fluctuations were transmitted from there. Many tents were built around the deep pit, and many armed soldiers were guarding around. In addition to the soldiers, there were hundreds of religious people wearing various clothes. There were Buddhists wearing monk robes. There were Christians holding crosses. There were even Taoists wearing Taoist robes and holding whisks. There were also strange religious believers with tattoos all over their bodies. Xia Xingchen also saw a group of demon believers in the crowd. General. An officer ran over and saluted. What's the situation? Luok asked. The officer did not answer, but shook his head. What a bunch of trash. Luok looked angry. Luok did not shy away, and his voice was loud, and there was an echo in the cave. Trash. 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 This voice echoed repeatedly, and fell into the ears of all the religious believers present. They were embarrassed, and their faces flushed. Masters, please follow me. Luok turned his head, and was very respectful to Nabo and Xia Xingchen. The religious believers consciously separated a path, and watched Nabo and Xia Xingchen walk by, whispering. Who are these two monks? They seem to be Buddhists. They are not Buddhists. Judging from their clothes, they are from the Mingxiu sect. Although this religion evolved from Buddhism, it no longer belongs to Buddhism. It is an inexplicable small sect. The number of believers is no more than 10,000. Less than 10,000. Our three major religions already had hundreds of millions or even billions of believers in the Earth Age. Not to mention the current universe age, the number of believers is even in the trillions. Hearing that the two were monks of the Mingxiu sect, many religious believers showed disdain on their faces. Especially the believers of the three major religions, they looked even more contemptuous. Indeed, the Mingxiu sect has only been established for a few hundred years. Its influence is not comparable to that of the three major religions, let alone some evil cults, such as the demon cult. However, General Luok insulted the believers of these big religions in person, but treated the believers of a declining small religion with great courtesy, which made them psychologically unbalanced and very unhappy. Two masters, this is the broken energy gate. When they arrived at the deep pit, Luok stood in front of the steel guardrail, and pointed at the bottom of the deep pit. Xia Xingchen leaned over to look. At the bottom of the dark deep pit, there was a colorful light slowly rotating. These lights were energies with different properties. An energy vortex. The rotation of the energy vortex seemed to be irregular. The energy collided with each other, and energy springs continued to gush out, like a pot of boiling energy porridge. Is this the broken energy gate? Xia Xingchen was shocked. Why didn't I see that this was a door? Nabo whispered, it is indeed a door. Master Longju once passed through this door, and entered the secret realm. Master, the Mingxiu sect really has a way to pass through this door. General Luok was overjoyed. Yes, there is. Elder Nabo took out a roll of parchment from his arms. The picture depicted on it was exactly this broken energy gate. The drawing depicts the flow trajectories of the 7 energies in detail, and a zigzag route is marked with red lines. It is through this route that Master Longju passed through the broken energy gate. Great. General Luok was overjoyed. What are we waiting for? Let's pass through this energy gate and enter the secret realm immediately. Of course. The elder nodded, took a deep breath, and prepared to jump into the broken energy gate in person. Brother, no. When the elder was preparing, Xia Xingchen took the parchment and examined it carefully. He frowned and quickly stopped in front of the elder. Junior brother, what's wrong? The elder asked curiously. Brother, the energy flow in this deep pit is slightly different from the flow drawn in the drawing. If you jump in rashly, you will definitely die. Xia Xingchen said anxiously. How could this be left by Master Longju? It can't be fake. The elder shook his head repeatedly. Whether it's true or not, we'll know after trying it. General Luok waved his hand and said coldly, whose turn is it now? The religious people looked at each other, staring at each other. Finally, a demon cultist with tattoos all over his body stood up and said, "It's our demon cult's turn. Try this route." General Luok handed the parchment to the cultist, and after he wrote it down, he returned it to the elder. The demon cultist had an S-level spiritual power and held a high position in the demon cult. He knelt down and prayed, then took off his clothes, tied a rope behind him, and jumped into the deep pit. The broken energy flows were like water, lifting his body up and letting him swim in it. As a result, within a few seconds, a scream came from below. The soldiers above hurriedly pulled the rope, but what they pulled up was a white skeleton, and his skin and flesh were burned to ashes by the energy. How is it possible? Seeing this bloody scene, the elder's legs softened, and he could not help but sit on the ground. Chapter 1562. Unfounded. Dead. The demon cultist is dead. It's a tragic death. What a pity for a powerful less-level spiritual power. In my opinion, there was something wrong with the monk's parchment, which killed the strong man. The religious believers were shocked and looked at Elder Nabo with sarcasm, throwing dirty water on him, trying to blame the death of the demon cultist on Elder Nabo. Elder Nabo hesitated, facing the accusations of everyone. He had no way to defend himself. In fact, even Elder Nabo believed that he had killed the cultist. Master Nabo, is there really a problem with your route map? Is it really the one passed down by Master Langju of your religion, not a forgery? General Luok's face also became obviously cold, and he questioned Elder Nabo in an aggressive tone. General, the parchment is of course real. Elder Nabo hurriedly explained. But why did the demon cultist die? General Luok stared at Elder Nabo. I don't know either. Elder Nabo lowered his head, his mind was blank. Master, you'd better think it over. That's an S-class warrior. I heard that your church and the demon cult have always been at odds. Did you intentionally modify the parchment and kill that warrior? General Luok said coldly. How is that possible? The elder was inexplicably accused of this unfounded crime, and he was immediately anxious, with cold sweat all over his forehead. You're guilty. On the surface, he looks righteous, like a high monk, but in fact he's a despicable villain. Using public affairs to take revenge on private matters. How despicable. The believers of various religions sneered, and their words were full of provocation. Old man, you killed my senior brother. I want you to pay with your life. Among the followers of the demon cult, a man with skull tattoos all over his body walked out, his face full of grief and indignation, holding a sharp knife in his hand, and walked towards the elder. The guards nearby were about to come over to stop them and prevent bloodshed, but General Luok waved his hand and whispered, "This is a private matter between their religions. Don't interfere." "Yes, sir." The guards stopped in a hurry and watched the tattooed man holding a sharp knife and walking towards the Elder Nabo. The Elder Nabo was completely panicked. "I want your life." The tattooed man strode over and stabbed the Elder Nabo with a sharp knife. "Get out." Xia Xingchen shouted, blocked the Elder Nabo, kicked the tattooed man in the stomach, kicked him 10 meters away, covered his stomach, and couldn't get up for a long time. Looking for death. Kill this skinny monk too. Kill. Revenge for Elder Mori. The demon cult is not a pushover. The followers all have red eyes and crazy faces, ready to swarm up and kill Xia Xingchen and Nabo on the spot. Haha, things have gotten out of hand. It's getting more and more fun. Fight. It's better to kill more people, that's more fun. The believers of other religions all stood aside with their arms folded, watching the excitement. Not only did no one stop them, but some even instigated them. Those who don't want to die, go back. Xia Xingchen's pupils suddenly shrank, and he glared at the crazy demon believers. At the same time, a thunderous voice sounded directly in their minds. This voice is so familiar. Satan, my god Satan. The gods have appeared again. These demon believers are all core members of the church. After hearing the voice of great god Satan and the fallen city, they immediately looked terrified, prostrated themselves on the ground, and their bodies couldn't stop shaking. The believers of other religions were all stunned, looking at the abnormal behavior of the demon believers. Why are you kneeling down suddenly? Isn't the demon cult a cult known for its crazy bloodlust? Kill. Go ahead and kill them. One by one, they were still instigating and inciting. The demon cultists lay on the ground motionless. No matter how other cultists provoked them, they kept worshipping and praying, begging for forgiveness from Satan. Brother. Xia Xingchen turned around and helped the elder up. Brother. The elder calmed down a little, his face full of shame. Thanks to you. I still haven't practiced enough, and I can't stand it when I encounter things. Brother, it's not your fault that the man died just now. Don't take it to heart. Xia Xingchen whispered to comfort him. The elder has always been smart and wise. However, he also has a big weakness. That is, he is too kind. Kind to the point of being weak. Of course, this is also where Xia Xingchen respects the elder. The law of the universe is that the strong prey on the weak, which is extremely cruel. People as kind as the elder are extremely rare in this era. Oh, Master, you said it wasn't your senior brother's fault. Whose fault was it for the death of the demon cult Elder Mori? Was it my fault? General Luok's face no longer had the respect he had when they first met. His eyes were full of sarcasm. Even if the demon cult no longer held the elder responsible, he would still not give in. It is indeed your fault. Xia Xingchen raised his head, looking directly at Luok without fear. You guy, what kind of person are you? Be more respectful. Before Luok could speak, the officer next to him was furious, holding a whip in his hand and pointing at Xia Xingchen's nose. Is it your turn to speak here? Luok turned around and glared at the officer fiercely. Yes, General. The officer was startled and quickly lowered his head and took a step back, his body trembling slightly. You seem to be Master Namo of the Mingxiu sect. Tell me, why is the death of the demon cult Elder Mori my fault? Give me the reason, and I will forgive you too. Otherwise, slandering the general of the empire is a serious crime. The crime should be executed. General Luok looked coldly at the skinny monk in front of him. Junior brother. The elder was terrified and pulled Xia Xingchen's clothes from behind, wanting him to bow his head and admit his mistake to Luok. Senior brother, don't panic. Xia Xingchen smiled and turned to look at Luok. I have seen the route map in my senior brother's hand, and there is nothing wrong with it. The fault is the broken energy gate. Its energy flow trajectory is slightly different from before, so the elder of the demon cult died. Lies. Where is the evidence? Besides, even if the energy flow trajectory changes, what does it have to do with me? General Luok sneered. General, if I'm not mistaken, you must have ordered someone to drive the mecha first and try to pass through the broken energy gate. But after the mecha entered, I'm afraid it caused some changes. Xia Xingchen said lightly. How do you know? General Luok's face suddenly changed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1563 The Road of Blood. When Xia Xingchen saw Luok's face change drastically, he knew that he had guessed it right. This was not difficult to guess. When Xia Xingchen saw the broken energy gate, he was thinking about how to drive the mecha through it. The human body is too fragile. The energy flow that slowly flows in the deep pit has amazing destructive power, and the human body cannot resist it at all. Within a second, the flesh and blood will be burned out, leaving only carbonized bones. In a few seconds, the bones will also be burned to ashes. Using mechas, or using robots and drones for detection, is the safest and most scientific method. However, not only are there no mechas in the cave, but there is not even a scientific researcher. There are only tents and a large number of religious people. Obviously, this method of scientific research is not advisable and has failed. Mechanical and electronic products such as mechas cannot pass through the broken energy gate. Not only can they not pass through, but metal entering the broken energy gate will cause a large-scale energy tide. The corners of Luok's mouth twitched slightly. He was the second commander of this operation. When the previous commander, General Beekson, used a robot to detect the broken energy gate, he triggered an energy tide. Pure destructive energy gushed out from the deep pit and filled the entire cave. General Beekson and an entire scientific research team were engulfed by the energy torrent and burned to ashes. In areas that science cannot explain, metaphysics has its place. Due to General Beakson's previous experience, General Luok abandoned the scientific method and invited a large number of religious people, hoping that they could come up with a way to pass through the broken energy gate. Someone once passed through the broken energy gate. Master Longju of the Mingxiu sect was a religious believer. General Luok strictly sealed off the news of the previous General Beakson's research failure. The religious believers present were unaware of it, and even the army and soldiers were replaced by a new batch. The skinny monk in front of him, however, spoke the truth in one word, which surprised General Luok. This broken energy gate, any metal entering it, may trigger an energy tide, and it will interfere with the original energy flow. If you hadn't been reckless, you would have triggered an energy tide. According to the route map left by Master Longju, you would have been able to pass safely. But now, it's too late. Xia Xingchen said lightly. This. Luok knew he was in the wrong, and was speechless for a moment. Master, may I ask, if there is a remedy? General Luok asked in a low voice. Let me think about it. Xia Xingchen said. Thank you, Master. General Luok was delighted and ordered the officer beside him, arrange the best accommodation for the two masters, take good care of their food, and give them the best. If they have any requests, do your best to meet them. Yes, sir. The officer saluted hurriedly, took Xia Xingchen and the elder to an empty tent, and said respectfully, Two masters, this is your temporary residence. I will personally deliver 3 meals a day. If you have any taboos, please tell me in advance. Although it was a temporary tent, the furniture inside was complete and beautifully decorated, and there was a landscape painting hanging on the wall. This tent can be called luxurious. There are only 2 tents in the huge camp. One is the residence of Commander Luok, and the other is for Xia Xingchen and the elder. The tents of other people, including those of the garrison soldiers, are very ordinary, even shabby. There are also some religious groups, such as the third-rate religions such as the demon cult, which do not have tents. The believers spread a blanket on the ground and sleep on the ground. It can be seen that Luok attaches much more importance to Xia Xingchen and the others than others. But it is precisely because of this luxurious tent that many people cast jealous eyes towards this side. There were screams from the broken energy door again, and a strong smell of blood filled the air. Xia Xingchen stood in front of the tent door and looked over, and saw a group of believers pulling a rope out of the deep pit, with a charred corpse at the end of the rope. Junior brother, what are they doing? The elder frowned. Exploring the way. Xia Xingchen whispered, no wonder Qin Yun gave them so many mechas, in order to win over the demon cult. It turns out that he wanted the believers to be cannon fodder for exploring the way. Cannon fodder. The elder was shocked. The energy flow trajectory of the broken energy gate is very complicated. Moreover, mechas cannot be used for exploring the way, and electronic instruments cannot be used. Therefore, some people with high mental power are needed to explore the way and find a passage. Qin Yun naturally couldn't bear to part with his men, so he promised them huge benefits and let these believers be cannon fodder for exploring the way. Qin Yun can do such a cruel thing. He is worse than pigs and dogs. That General Luok is the same as Qin Yun, and he is not a good thing either. But I don't understand why these religions are so weak and willing to let the believers sacrifice in vain. Xia Xingchen gritted his teeth. I know a thing or two. The old man said, a big reward will bring a brave man. Qin Yun promised that, if anyone helps him find the magic bottle, he will establish this sect as the state religion, allow preaching in the empire, and build churches on major planets. Therefore, all sects are tempted, and bewitch the believers, to sacrifice themselves for their faith. Don't you find that the believers who jumped off the broken energy gate all have happy smiles on their faces? At this time, a shaman was preparing to enter the broken energy gate to explore the way. He was sitting cross-legged and praying. His face was pious and his smile was satisfied. Horror. Xia Xingchen felt creepy when he saw this smile. Several believers jumped off the broken energy gate one after another, and screams filled the cave. Despite such sacrifices, progress was very slow. It's not fair. Why are all the believers of my religion sacrificed? That's right. That sect of the dark cultivators, who live in the best tents, and eat the best food, is just watching and enjoying the fruits of their labor. The leaders of several large religions saw that Xia Xingchen and Nabo lived well and ate well, and they felt extremely unbalanced. After discussing it, they found LUOK together. General, enough believers of my religion have sacrificed. Is that sect of the Dark Cultivators just watching? If the two monks of the sect of the Dark Cultivators can't think of a way to pass through the broken energy gate, they should also sacrifice to explore the way. That's fair. Several religious leaders cried out in front of LUOK. LUOK thought about it and felt it was quite difficult. On the one hand, he didn't want to offend these religious leaders. On the other hand, Master Namo of the sect of the Dark Cultivators had sharp observation skills and was likely to come up with a way to pass through the broken energy gate. However, the religious leaders on the other side were very dissatisfied and shouted that they wanted to go on strike. Sending believers to die exploring the way is cruel, but it is an effective method. As long as enough believers are sacrificed, a safe route will be explored one day. Although Master Namo has some knowledge, he may not be able to figure out a way to pass through the broken energy gate. Weighing the pros and cons, LUOK decided to sacrifice the Mingxiu sect. I'll go talk to the two masters. At that moment, General LUOK walked towards Xia Xingchen's tent. Several religious leaders and many believers also came, looking aggressive. Two masters. General LUOK saluted and looked at Xia Xingchen. Master Namo, can you think of a way to pass through the broken energy gate? Not yet. Xia Xingchen shook his head. Since there is no, according to our rules here, each sect must send people to explore the way. There are only 2 people in your sect, so I will give face to the 2 masters and put you at the end. After 5 hours, you must send 1 person to enter the broken energy gate. General LUOK said coldly. Chapter 1564 Vortex Law. What? You want me and my junior brother to enter the broken energy gate? Isn't that sending us to our deaths? The elder stood up, his eyes angry, staring at General LUOK. General LUOK touched his nose, smiling. What do you mean by sending you to your deaths? That's too harsh. Besides, if one of you can successfully pass through the broken energy gate, not only will you not die, but you will also receive a reward from His Majesty Qin Yun. What a damn reward. The elder was always gentle, but at this moment he couldn't hold back his anger and cursed. In short, it is a rule here that every sect must send people to explore the broken energy gate, and no one can be an exception. LUOK's face was cold and his attitude was very tough. After saying this, he turned around and left. The religious leaders were very satisfied with LUOK's performance. They smiled and looked at Xia Xingchen and the elder with sarcastic eyes, and then went back with the believers satisfied. Junior brother, what should we do? The elder Nabo looked pale, sat on the bed with a sad face, sighing. I knew LUOK was not a good guy. I'm not surprised by his excessive actions. Xia Xingchen looked at LUOK's receding back coldly and whispered. 5 hours later, will one of us really have to enter the broken energy gate? The elder Nabo shook his head. If I had known this, I would never have agreed to let Lieutenant Colonel Sidon get involved in this muddy water. These soldiers of the Empire are too cruel and inhumane. Brother, it's useless to regret now. Don't worry. The worst case scenario is that we will fall out with LUOK. If we still can't think of a way to pass through the energy vortex after 5 hours, I will take you out to kill. Xia Xingchen's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He already had a plan in his mind. No matter what happened, he must ensure the safety of the Elder Nabo. Even if he gave up looking for the magic bottle, he would not let the Elder Nabo be in danger. Junior brother. The Elder Nabo looked at Xia Xingchen deeply and regained a little confidence. Brother, how did Master Longju pass through this energy vortex? Xia Xingchen asked. Master Longju is a genius, and he has awakened many memories about the magic bottle. Even so, he still sat in front of the broken energy door for a whole year before he realized the trajectory of the energy flow and drew that route map. Master Longju took a year. Xia Xingchen was shocked. Master Longju had the memory of the magic bottle, and it took him so long, but I only had 5 hours. The time is too short. Xia Xingchen shook his head and smiled bitterly. However, although the time is short, I have to give it a try. Xia Xingchen is not a person who gives up easily. He immediately came to the front of the deep pit, found a place to sit cross-legged, and looked down at the colorful energy vortex in the deep pit below. In addition to Xia Xingchen, there are also many religious believers at the edge of the pit, all of whom are thinking hard, trying to find the law of the energy vortex. It's Master Namo of the Mingxiu sect. He also came to comprehend the mystery of the energy vortex. He will jump in 5 hours. Can he not come? Humph, in just 5 hours, you want to cram. It's too late. So many of us have died, and we have spent so much time, but there is no progress. What right does he have? The believers whispered, and cast contemptuous glances at Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen would naturally not be affected by the gossip of these people. His eyes were fixed on the energy vortex at the bottom of the pit. His heart was peaceful, and he soon entered a deep state of meditation. In this state, Xia Xingchen's thinking speed was 1,000 times faster than usual, and his perception was also improved 1,000 times. The field of omniscience quietly expanded, covering the entire energy vortex. This energy vortex, slowly rotating, looks very much like the galaxy vortex. A thought emerged in Xia Xingchen's mind. The galaxy, as a whole, is a huge vortex. The same is true for the universe. The vortex represents life, and is full of vitality. The Teikai diagram of ancient China is also a constantly rotating vortex, which contains infinite wisdom. The energy vortex in front of him is also a vortex. Xia Xingchen was thoughtful. These energy torrents collide with each other, constantly changing direction, seemingly disordered. Just like the stars in the summer night sky, they are actually moving according to certain laws. Everything in the universe has its own laws of operation. Without rules, there will be no order. The universe has its own laws, and only by understanding the laws can we understand the mysteries of the universe. The universe began with a big bang. At the beginning of the universe, there was nothing, only a pure energy, which cosmologists call a singularity. This energy vortex is extremely similar to the appearance of the universe at the beginning. Xia Xingchen's harmony between man and nature technique was running unconsciously, and he saw the prototype of the universe from the energy vortex. He vaguely felt that a mysterious law that transcends time and space contains the ultimate truth of the universe. The ancients called it Tao. If you hear the Tao in the morning, you can die in the evening. Even if they comprehended one law of the universe, the ancients would be excited and willing to exchange it with their death. Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged, completely immersed in a state of meditation, full of joy from the depths of his soul. The originally chaotic torrent of energy gradually became regular in Xia Xingchen's eyes, and he could see the direction of each torrent. A path to safely cross the torrent also clearly appeared in front of Xia Xingchen. Found the way. Xia Xingchen sighed. However, this was not what made Xia Xingchen most excited. In addition to finding a way to pass through the broken energy gate, Xia Xingchen also comprehended a cosmic law called vortex. Xia Xingchen simulated it in his mind. His previous method of attack was drill. The rapidly rotating drill was spinning as fast as a vortex, but it was different from a vortex after all. Using the vortex law, Xia Xingchen turned the vast mental power into a huge vortex, which could pull the enemy in and trap it, or directly crush it. Comprehending the vortex law seems easy, but it is not easy. Xia Xingchen has been practicing the harmony between man and nature technique for a long time, and has comprehended very few cosmic laws. This time, with the help of the spiritual refining technique, he converted a large amount of faith into mental power, and broke through to the stellar level. In addition, he watched the broken energy gate and saw the prototype of the universe, so he comprehended this law. In fact, it is the result of long-term accumulation, and it is not just a coincidence. Master Namo. Master Namo. Suddenly a voice came from a very far place. Xia Xingchen was in a trance for a while, and came out of the meditation state. His eyes regained clarity and he saw General Liu Ke standing in front of him with a group of soldiers, looking at him with a smile. 5 hours have passed. General Liu Ke sneered. Have you discussed with your senior brother who will represent the Mingxiu sect to explore this broken energy gate? Chapter 1565 Entering the Abyss. Brother, I'll go. The elder walked over with a serious face. The elder said this with the determination to die. He had no confidence in passing the energy vortex. However, Xia Xingchen was the benefactor of the Mingxiu sect and a god in the eyes of the elder. He would rather die than let Xia Xingchen take risks. Brother. Xia Xingchen was shocked. He did not expect the elder to do so. From the elder's concerned eyes, Xia Xingchen quickly understood his thoughts and was moved. Brother, I'll go. I have some clues. Xia Xingchen walked over and stopped the elder. Brother. The elder's eyes were filled with tears. Humph, don't play the brotherly love drama here. One of you has to go. Decide who it is quickly. Don't worry, in 5 hours, the other person will go to accompany him. Why are you in a hurry? General Luok smiled coldly. Brother, I'll go. I'm 90% sure. Xia Xingchen whispered. 90%? Is he really that sure? The elder was shocked. Xia Xingchen didn't explain much, and he didn't even have a rope tied around him. In full view of everyone, he jumped into the energy vortex. It was beyond everyone's expectation. There was no screaming in the pit. Xia Xingchen floated in the energy flow, and his forward route was winding. Overall, he drew a huge arc, like a vortex, approaching the center of the energy vortex little by little. What? He passed? How is it possible? So many of us died, and we explored the road for so long, but we didn't go as far as he did. Can he really pass? The believers around saw this scene, and they all looked strange. They held their breath, and watched Xia Xingchen slowly approach the core. Swish. Xia Xingchen entered the core. A white light sprayed out from the center, and the colorful energy torrent dissipated instantly, and a huge light gate with a diameter of 100 meters appeared. Xia Xingchen successfully passed through the light gate, and entered the secret realm. Is this the secret realm of the ancient human spaceship that sealed a magic bottle? Xia Xingchen found himself being teleported to a strange area. The entire area was extremely large, covering thousands of square kilometers. Above it was a semicircular energy shield, like an eggshell, covering the entire area. Above the energy shield was a thick layer of granite. Xia Xingchen speculated that he was in a huge hole underground. Not far ahead was an extremely large spaceship, about the same size as the Star Domain Ark, both tens of thousands of meters long, but it was severely damaged, with holes all over the hull, as if it had experienced an extremely fierce and brutal battle. A layer of purple energy shield covered the entire spaceship. Xia Xingchen released the Omniscience Domain, and found that the power of the domain could not penetrate the shield. Swish. The light gate behind him flickered, and a figure appeared. It was an Imperial officer. He was slightly startled, and then excitedly shouted, I passed. I'm not dead. I passed the broken energy gate. A few minutes later, behind the Imperial officer, one figure after another passed through the light gate, and entered the secret realm. The elder came in, and seeing Xia Xingchen was safe and sound, he was surprised and said, Junior brother, you are okay. I'm glad you are okay. Xia Xingchen smiled and said, thank you for your concern. I told you that I'm 90% sure. General Luok followed the crowd and entered the secret realm. He looked more excited than anyone else and couldn't help dancing. After calming down a little, he muttered to himself, finally passed. All these efforts have not been in vain. I will immediately inform His Highness Kinyan of this great news. The slight gate is to way. If you can enter, you can naturally return. However, if no one passes through the light gate for a long time, the energy torrent will cover the surface of the light gate and prevent people from entering. Unless someone finds a new route, the light gate will open again. General Luok did not fulfill his promise to reward Xia Xingchen, the first hero to pass through the broken energy gate, and completely forgot about him. He ordered the soldiers to put the light gate under martial law, and no one could enter or leave it to avoid accidents. As for Xia Xingchen, Elder Nabo, and the first group of religious people who passed through the light gate and entered the secret realm, they were surrounded by armed soldiers. Their range of activities was less than 1,000 square meters, and it was impossible for them to get close to the huge spaceship with purple light. Two old foxes. They knew the correct route, but they concealed it and came up with a fake route map to let our believers die. We sacrificed so many believers. In the end, all the credit went to them. It's really hateful. Not only did the religious believers not thank Xia Xingchen, but they thought that he deliberately concealed the real route map in order to show off in front of everyone and seek credit from the Regent Kinyan. Therefore, they all had resentful faces and deliberately isolated Xia Xingchen and Elder Nabo, squeezing them out at the edge of the venue. Brother, they are too much. We don't have a real roadmap. It's all thanks to you that you figured out the secret of the energy vortex. Otherwise, we would all die here. If we die, they will probably be satisfied. The elder said with gritted teeth. And that LUOK, he only cares about taking credit. He didn't even say thank you. He just treated you and me as cannon fodder and threw us aside after using us. Brother, don't you think this is better? Xia Xingchen smiled slightly. The one who sticks out gets shot. This time I was planning to keep a low profile, not to attract attention, and make a fortune quietly, in order to avoid Kenyon's attention and cause any trouble. But the situation is pressing. These people can't even get through the broken energy gate, so I was forced to take action. Now, the believers are jealous and ostracized, and the Imperial Army ignores me, so I feel more relaxed, and it is convenient for me to act later. That's right. The elder nodded repeatedly. Brother, help me protect the law. I will quietly send 2 clones to explore the reality of the spaceship. Xia Xingchen whispered. Clone. You also condensed a spiritual clone. And 2 of them? Elder Nabo was shocked again. He had only heard that a strong person who was good at mental power could condense a clone, but he had never seen it. It was incredible that Xia Xingchen could condense 2 clones. If Elder Nabo knew that Xia Xingchen actually had 3 crystal clones, I'm afraid his jaw would be dislocated with surprise. Earth orbit. In a luxurious Imperial Royal starship, Kenyon was lying on the bed with a smell of alcohol all over his body, holding a naked beauty with a graceful figure and a beautiful face in his arms. There were empty bottles rolling everywhere under the bed. Kenyon has always had the bad habit of alcoholism, especially when he was under too much pressure. He relied on alcohol and anesthesia to escape the huge pressure of reality. The latest battle report came. The offensive momentum of the Northern Army in Chang'an Star region was curbed. The army bypassed Luban Star and Chang'an Star and had arrived at the border of Shianyuan Star region, ready to attack Shianyuan Star at any time. Kenyon knew how terrifying Andre was, and he didn't dare to face Andre's troops directly, so he could only put all his hopes on the Solomon bottle. However, the search for the Solomon bottle was not smooth. Although a lot of manpower and material resources were spent, he didn't even pass the first level, broken energy gate. Kenyon was extremely anxious, drinking every day, and his temper became more weird and moody. Chapter 1566 Golden Key. Beep, beep. A sharp buzzing sound woke Kenyon from his deep sleep. Kenyon had a splitting headache due to his hangover, and his mood naturally fell to the bottom. LUOK, you'd better have good news. Otherwise, take off your military uniform and go back home. Kenyon rubbed his temples with both hands. His face was so gloomy that water almost dripped out. Your Highness. Good news. Great news. LUOK shuddered and said hurriedly, the broken energy gate has been cracked. We can enter the Solomon Abyss. What? Kenyon was startled, and finally a smile appeared on his gloomy face. LUOK, wait a minute. Kenyon walked into the bathroom, took a white hangover pill, took a simple shower, and changed into a marshal's uniform with a black background and gold edges. The decadence on his body was swept away, and he was energetic and radiant. LUOK, you control the scene first, and don't let anyone approach the spacecraft. I'll be there soon. Kenyon said as he walked into a landing craft. An hour later, Kenyon and several trusted masters passed through the atmosphere and landed at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, where they met LUOK, who was full of joy. Your Highness. LUOK walked forward and bowed respectfully. Well, take me to the broken energy gate. Kenyon nodded gently, and under the escort of LUOK and a large number of elite guards, he passed through the tunnel and came to the underground cave, standing in front of the broken energy gate that had turned into a light gate. It's really opened. Kenyon was surprised and turned around and asked, can I pass through safely? Of course, Your Highness. Not only can I pass through safely, but the mecha can also pass through freely. LUOK said hurriedly. LUOK, you did a great job. Kenyon praised. There will be a big reward. Thank you, Your Highness. LUOK was full of joy and knelt in front of Kenyon. From beginning to end, LUOK did not mention a word about the Dark Cultivation sect, but took all the credit for himself. In the secret realm, Xia Xingchen, Elder Nabo, and hundreds of religious believers were strictly guarded by a group of armed soldiers with weapons. They built a 10-meter high simple wall with iron plates and locked the religious believers inside like prisoners. The purpose was to prevent the religious believers from getting close to the spaceship, even to take a look. In the corner of the wall, Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, as if he was meditating. In fact, his two crystal clones had already lurked from underground and arrived near the ancient human spaceship. The spirit body is not a material, but a special energy that can pass through stones at will. One of Xia Xingchen's clones came to the front of the spaceship, stretched out his hand, and touched the purple energy shield. Zzzz, a purple arc appeared on the energy shield, which bounced his hand away. This energy shield can isolate the spirit body? Xia Xingchen was secretly surprised. Unable to pass through the front, the crystal clone immediately drilled into the ground and wanted to enter from under the energy shield. However, the crystal clone went around a long circle and did not find a single gap. This purple energy shield covered the ancient human spaceship 360 degrees without dead angles. Even the underground was no exception. How to get in? Xia Xingchen was in trouble. At this time, another clone found a strange stone tablet in front of the spaceship. The stone tablet is black in color and seems to be made of obsidian. It is 5 meters high, 2 meters wide, and 1 meter thick. It is rectangular in shape with sharp edges and corners. It is obviously a man-made product. In the center of the stone tablet, there is a groove with a palm-shaped mark inside. Xia Xingchen was very curious. After exploring it several times with the omniscience field, he tried to let the crystal clone put his hand in and put it on the groove. The obsidian suddenly glowed, and many mysterious patterns appeared on it. The light was like a stream flowing slowly. Detection completed. The amplitude of mental power is stable, and the identity is confirmed to be human. The strength of mental power meets the qualification. A voice suddenly sounded in Xia Xingchen's mind. HMM. After coming back to his senses, Xia Xingchen suddenly found that there was a golden key in his sea of consciousness. This key is made of pure mental energy and is a mental mark. At the same time, the purple energy shield changed and 3 doors emerged. There was also a handprint at a height of 1 person on the door. I got the key to the secret realm. Xia Xingchen quickly understood that the obsidian tablet was used to determine the qualifications of the entrance. He guessed from the voice that just came from his mind. To obtain the key, several conditions are required. First, you must be a human. Just like the Star Domain Arc, outsiders cannot get the key. However, the Star Domain Arc confirms the qualifications through genetic testing, while this spacecraft uses mental power amplitude testing. The testing methods are different, but the purpose is the same. Second, the mental power level must reach a certain level. As for how high the mental power level is required, Xia Xingchen is not sure. Anyway, he has already got the first key and does not think it is difficult. Judging from the 3 doors that appeared on the purple energy shield, there are 3 keys in total. Xia Xingchen didn't know the truth about the secret realm, so he was not in a hurry to enter. He took back the crystal clone and whispered to the elder, "Brother, did Master Langju leave any records about the situation inside the spaceship?" "No." The elder shook his head. In fact, Master Langju did not enter the spaceship. He mentioned that there were 3 keys corresponding to different channels, which could enter the core area of the spaceship. But his mental strength was too weak, and he was not qualified to get the key. Later, Master Langju returned to the Mengxiu sector practice. Every once in a while, he would enter here to try to get the key. He came here 7 times. However, until his death, he still did not qualify to get the key. Is it so difficult to qualify to get the key? Xia Xingchen's heart trembled. Looking at the glittering golden key in the sea of consciousness, it felt a little unreal. Is it difficult? Not difficult at all. He just let the clone reach into the obsidian and successfully got the key. No matter. Anyway, I got the key. Since no one knows the truth in the passage, I will take the initiative. Xia Xingchen was ready to take out the beast god Mecha, take the wave of elders together, forcefully break through the army's defense, open the door, and break into the spaceship. At this moment, the huge light gate fluctuated, and a stern man in a black and gold martial uniform walked in surrounded by a group of soldiers. Qin Yun. When enemies meet, they are particularly jealous. Xia Xingchen's pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle tip. At that moment, Xia Xingchen couldn't even suppress the anger in his heart and wanted to drive the mecha to assassinate Qin Yun. However, the three old men around Qin Yun exuded powerful mental fluctuations, and one of them was the Angel of Light Michael. No. Qin Yun is surrounded by masters. My chances of assassination are slim. I can't ruin things because of impulse. Xia Xingchen took a deep breath and suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. Michael seemed to sense the murderous intent. He looked deeply in the direction of Xia Xingchen, and a look of shock appeared on his face. Chapter 1567. 3 Top Mecha Masters. Beside Qin Yun, Michael suddenly looked in the direction of Xia Xingchen. Michael, what's wrong? Another old man was extremely sensitive and immediately noticed Michael's abnormality. Is there anything over there? The third old man also asked. One of the 2 old men was named Guxi, nicknamed Nightmare. He was ranked 11th on the Galaxy Legend list. He was an extremely rare illusionist with strong strength. The other old man was named Kaiheng, nicknamed Sky King. He was not only a legendary planetary level mecha master, but also a martial arts master who was good at close combat. He was ranked 6th on the Galaxy Legend list. Nightmare Guxi, Sky King Kaiheng, and the Angel of Light Michael, 3 mecha masters standing at the top of humanity, were protecting Qin Yun closely. It can be said that there was no risk of anything going wrong. It's okay. Michael retracted his gaze. He had clearly felt a familiar mental fluctuation just now, and he immediately recognized that it was Xia Xingchen's mental fluctuation. But this mental fluctuation disappeared in an instant. Michael immediately detected nearby, but found no clues. Is it Xia Xingchen? Michael thought to himself, but soon shook his head and thought it was impossible. Michael knew very well the level of Xia Xingchen's spiritual power. Even if he entered the Ascender Alliance and gained some opportunities, he had just entered the legendary Nebula level at best. It was impossible for the Nebula level to hide Michael, who was at the star level. The energy shield disturbed the spiritual fluctuations. Maybe I felt it wrong. Michael thought to himself. This is the ancient human spaceship. The magic bottle is sleeping inside. Qin Yun saw the huge spaceship in front of him, and his face was full of surprise. Yes, your highness. Luok said respectfully. Well, what do these religious believers do? Qin Yun glanced at the steel wall in the corner of the secret realm and frowned. The ancient human's mechanism is very strange. Some mechanisms, such as the broken energy door, cannot be driven through by mechas. There are also some mechanisms that may require the power of faith. I left them here just in case. If you encounter a dangerous mechanism, you can also let them act as cannon fodder, which is 100 benefits without any harm. Luok explained. Yes, you have thought it through. Let's keep these believers. Maybe they can be put to good use. As for the believers outside the broken energy gate, they must be strictly guarded. They cannot be allowed to come in again, and they cannot be allowed to leave, so as to avoid leaking the news and revealing the secrets. Qin Yun ordered, immediately transfer my personal guard mecha regiment here. We will figure out how to enter the spaceship, and then enter the spaceship, to find the magic bottle. Yes, sir. Luok said. Qin Yun personally dispatched troops, and the mechas entered the secret realm one by one. At the same time, there were many troops, to guard the religious believers more strictly. You treat us as prisoners? We are obviously heroes. But we are treated like this. Hush, keep your voice down. That is the Regent Qin Yun. Don't you know his temper? If we offend him, not to mention us, the entire sect will be destroyed. The believers dared not speak out, and secretly complained. In the Earth era, the status of religion has always been very high. After entering the era of exploration of the universe, the status of religion plummeted. Most citizens of the Galactic Empire do not believe in religion, but only in science. Xia Xingchen was going to enter the spaceship directly, but Qin Yun's sudden arrival disrupted his plan. Michael almost found me just now. Although I have some friendship with Michael, Qin Yun is here, so he must be on Qin Yun's side. Xia Xingchen was once defeated by Michael, and he always wanted to avenge his previous shame, but now is not the time. For now, I can only hide and wait and see. Xia Xingchen calmed his mind and carefully concealed his mental power. So far, Xia Xingchen has not found any clues about Andre. It's as if Andre has never come to Earth. Xia Xingchen is very sure that the intelligence of the Star Business Alliance will never be wrong. Moreover, Xia Xingchen has a vague feeling in his heart that Andre must be nearby, waiting for an opportunity. Qin Yun sent a large number of people to explore, and soon figured out that the secret of opening the energy shield is on that obsidian tablet. 3 doors, 3 keys. But one of the keys has been taken away. Qin Yun's face suddenly darkened after he knew the situation. "Are you okay? Are you sure no one is approaching?" Qin Yun asked coldly. "Your Highness." Liu OK knelt down in fear. "I'm sure that no one is approaching the spaceship, let alone the stone tablet. Then why are there only 2 keys left?" Qin Yun said angrily. "Maybe." Liu OK's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind, and he said anxiously, "Your Highness, Master Langzhu of the Mingxiu sect came here 100 years ago. He is the discoverer of the abyss. Maybe he took the key." "Well, was the key taken away 100 years ago?" "That's possible." Qin Yun came to find the bottle of Solomon, and naturally did his homework. He knew that Master Langzhu had entered the broken energy gate, so it was not surprising that he took a key. If Master Langzhu had not awakened his ancient memories, it is unknown how long it would take for future generations to find the secret realm of the abyss sleeping at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Forget it. Don't pursue that key anymore. Getting the remaining 2 keys is the real thing. Qin Yun had never expected that Master Langzhu was not strong enough to get the key at all, and it was Xia Xingchen who got there first and took the first key. "Your Highness, the 2 masters of the Mingxiu sect are nearby. Do you want to call them to ask?" Liu OK said. "No need. They are just charlatans, full of nonsense. What's there to ask?" Like most of the imperial family, Qin Yun did not believe in religion, especially after being bewitched by the Shinran sect. He hated religion even more. "Your Highness, I have sent people to study the obsidian tablet. If you put your palm in it, you may get the key." "But the few people who tested it before all failed," Liu OK said. "Huh? Are there any side effects?" Qin Yun frowned. "No, I haven't found it yet," Liu OK said. "I'll try it myself." Qin Yun was a rather conceited person. He immediately walked to the obsidian tablet and put his palm into the groove. Nothing happened. Qin Yun also failed. "How is it possible? Even I failed." Qin Yun's face flushed and he felt a little embarrassed. "It may be because the level of spiritual power is not enough." Liu OK whispered, "Why not let Senior Michael give it a try? He is one of the strongest in the galaxy." "Senior." Qin Yun was very respectful to Michael. "We all failed. Do you want to try?" Michael nodded, walked to the stone tablet, and put his palm into it. But the stone tablet vibrated, the light flowed, and a golden key-shaped spiritual mark appeared in Michael's mind. "Got it. It's easy." Michael smiled faintly. Chapter 1568 All failed. Michael got the first key. It's not as difficult as imagined. Qin Yun secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't achieve the legendary level, and his mental power was far different from that of Michael and other masters. No matter what, as long as they got a key, they could enter the spaceship smoothly. "Guxi, Kaiheng, to seniors. Please help and get the last key as well, just in case. The intelligence department of the Empire is not a pushover." Qin Yun knew that Andre might have come to Earth. He brought so many elite soldiers and legendary top mecha masters just to guard against Andre. "Yeah. Okay." Nightmare Guxi and Sky High Kaiheng both nodded and came to the obsidian stele. "Old boo, do you want to take action or should I?" Kaiheng smiled. "Let me do it." Guxi was full of confidence, thinking that the gap between him and Michael was not big. Since Michael could easily get the key, he could naturally do it too. "Okay." Kaiheng nodded gently, and he also believed that Guxi would definitely get the key. Guxi slowly put his palm into the groove of the obsidian tablet. However, nothing happened. The tablet did not react at all. It did not vibrate and glow like Michael did before. Guxi's face changed drastically. After a long silence, he shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I failed. It seems that there is still a huge gap between me and Michael." Kai Heng looked at Guxi with a shocked face. Even you failed. I didn't expect that. It's just a key, but the conditions for obtaining it are so harsh. But you can definitely get it, Guxi said to Kai Heng. Kai Heng frowned, walked to the stone tablet, and said in a deep voice, "Let me try." Kai Heng put his hand in, and like Guxi, nothing happened. He also failed. How is it possible? Kai Heng couldn't believe it. His self-esteem was severely hit. His eyes were blurred, and his mind was blank. I'm ranked 6th on the Galaxy Legend list, although the list can only be used for reference. But Michael can easily get the key, but I failed. Kai Heng was confused. Kai Heng and Guxi both failed. Michael stood aside, looking shocked. He originally thought that getting the key was simple and not worth boasting about. But now it seems that it is not the case. Michael is very clear about Kai Heng's strength. Although his mental power level is slightly lower than his, he is also a top level master at the peak of the planet. Guxi ranks 11th, outside the top 10 masters of mankind, but he is good at illusion and has a strong mental power. He is not inferior to Kai Heng and is also at the peak of the planetary level. Is the minimum requirement for obtaining this key to be stellar level? Michael was shocked. If his speculation was true, there would be very few people in the entire human race who could get the key. Stellar level is really too rare. Seniors Guxi and Kai Heng both failed. Qin was very surprised. I'm sorry, Your Highness. It's our incompetence. We failed Your Highness's trust. Guxi and Kai Heng both felt ashamed, but they were both legendary level, with a strong will far beyond ordinary people. They only lost their minds for a while, and then adjusted themselves. What should I do? I can't get the third key. Qin frowned, and fell into deep thought. I must get the third key. Otherwise, I will be uneasy. But how can I get it? Qin thought for a while, and said in a deep voice, "Pass on my order. Let all the legendary mecha divisions in the army gather here." All the legendary mecha divisions? Luok was stunned, his face full of surprise. Yes, all the legendary mecha masters. Qin said, "There should be more than 20 legendary mecha masters who followed me to Earth this time. Although their rankings are not as good as Guxi and Kai Heng, some legendary mecha masters like to keep a low profile and may have concealed their strength. Besides, this is the only way to get the third key, Your Highness." Luok still hesitated. If more than 20 legendary mecha masters all gathered in the secret realm, our defense over the Mariana Trench would immediately become extremely empty. If the enemy takes advantage of the opportunity, the consequences will be disastrous. Enemy, do you mean Andre? I don't believe it would be such a coincidence. We just transferred the legendary mecha masters, and Andre took advantage of this gap to launch an attack. Qin has always been stubborn and self-willed, and this time is no exception. He thinks he knows Andre. With his hot temper, he definitely doesn't have the patience to endure until now. Yes, Your Highness. Luok had a vague premonition in his heart, but as a soldier, he still chose to obey the orders of his superiors. Over the Mariana Trench, in the fleet of the Imperial Army, a total of 27 legendary class players received Qin's order. They immediately drove their mechas deep into the trench, entered the secret realm, and gathered in front of the obsidian tablet. Both seniors Guxi and Kai Heng failed. Only the Angel of Light Michael got the key. The 27 legendary class mecha masters were shocked when they heard the news. At Qin's urging, they walked to the obsidian tablet one by one, put their palms into the grooves, and tried to get the last key. Failure. 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 The legendary mecha masters in front of them failed one after another, and they left the obsidian tablet dejectedly and stood aside. How is it possible? Qin frowned. So many legendary class players are not qualified to get the last key. They are all the top existences of mankind. There are only a few monsters like Michael in the entire galaxy. In the end, all 27 legendary class players failed. No one was able to pass the qualification assessment and get the third key. The conditions for obtaining the key are too harsh. Michael is not mentioned. He is ranked 2nd on the legend list. His current strength is not inferior to Roger, the Star Pirate King, who is ranked 1st on the legend list. The question is, 100 years ago, did the Master Langju of the Mingxiu sect have a spiritual power that is no less than Michael's? Qin was suspicious. Such a peerless strong man actually lived in seclusion on Earth and remained unknown until his death. Qin Yun thought it was unlikely. However, Qin Yun couldn't think of who had the same spiritual power as Michael and could get the first key. Michael stood aside, his eyes narrowed, silent, and was also thinking about this question. Above the Mariana Trench, behind a cloud, a large mecha army was hidden. The mecha was painted in a uniform silver-white color, and the badge on the chest was a roaring polar bear. The Northern Empire, the first mecha army polar bear. In the center of the mecha army was a huge mecha that was 100 meters high, painted black. It was the prototype of the Demon King made by Zhuo Lehong and Hao Xian. In the cockpit, there was a faint silver mark in the center of Andre's brow, which looked like an upright pupil. Seeing the legendary mecha divisions of the Imperial Army leaving their positions one after another, Andre smiled coldly. I finally waited for it. Pass on my order, the whole army would attack. Chapter 1569 Eyes of the Future. Attack. All the mecha divisions of the Polar Bear Legion roared in a low voice. Their eyes were bloodshot, and their fighting spirit was boiling. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The clouds suddenly dissipated, and tens of thousands of Northern Army mechas swooped down from the sky and rushed towards the Imperial Army starships. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. The loud alarm sounded through the sky, and the Imperial Army fell into a brief chaos. Boom. 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 The two armies fought, and explosions rang out one after another. The sky was filled with dazzling balls of all sizes. Broken mecha wreckage and burning human limbs fell from the sky like a rainstorm. On the battlefield, the Black Devil mecha driven by Andre stood out particularly. It was like a black heavy sword, instantly piercing the Imperial Army's defense line. Countless mechas of the Imperial Army flew up, trying to stop Andre, but they couldn't get close to him at all, and were turned into powder by the high energy impact. Horror. So terrifying. Is it legendary? No, it's not legendary. It's Andre, the Emperor of the Northern Empire, the quasi-celestial Andre. Unstoppable. Get out of the way. Everyone get out of the way. Get away from Andre. Wait for his mecha to run out of energy. The Imperial mecha divisions all felt deep despair when facing Andre and his demon mecha. And inside the demon mecha, Andre's handsome face was full of contemptuous smiles. With Andre's quasi-celestial strength and the demon mecha, in such a large-scale battle, one machine is worth 1,000, and no one can be his enemy. Andre quickly broke away from the battle formation of the Northern Army, and alone passed through the Imperial Army's defense line, flying towards the depths of the Mariana Trench. No one could stop him. But Andre suddenly touched the silver vertical pupil mark on his forehead and frowned. The future, I suddenly can't see anything. Andre's heart trembled. The silver vertical pupil mark on his forehead was transformed by the power of the domain. Andre is a rare dual-powered person, and in theory he can awaken the power of two domains. In the long history of mankind, dual-powered people have been born. But there is no record of dual-domain people. Scientists once asserted that no one can awaken two domains. However, Andre has the help of the elder celestial being behind him, and he awakened the dual domains. Unprecedented and unrivaled. One is the bloodthirsty domain, which can greatly increase the combat effectiveness of Andre and the army. The other is this Eye of the Future. Through the Eye of the Future, Andre can see the future more clearly. It is with this Eye of the Future that Andre easily defeated Marshal von Bismarck and forced the Galactic Empire into a desperate situation. Andre led the Polar Bear Mecha Corps and hid over the Mariana Trench. It was also the Eye of the Future that allowed him to see that the legendary mecha divisions of the Empire would suddenly leave the fleet at a certain time and enter the depths of the Mariana Trench. Andre is like a cheetah hunting, waiting for this unique opportunity. Of course, with Andre's quasi-celestial strength, even if the Imperial Army had more than 20 legends, they would not be able to defeat him. However, they would greatly hinder Andre's speed. The situation in Solomon's Abyss is unknown, and Andre doesn't want to give Qin Yun any breathing space. Speed is of the essence, and Andre wants to catch Qin Yun off guard. The Eye of the Future has been disturbed, and I can't see the future clearly for the time being. Andre frowned slightly, his expression solemn. The Eye of the Future is the embodiment of the predictive ability. Compared with the previous predictive ability, it rarely fails. But now, the eye of the future suddenly failed. It should be the interference of the magic bottle, Andre thought in his heart, and the Demon King Mecha had landed at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Boom boom boom. Following Andre, 18 Northern Army mechas landed one after another. These mechas were all scarred, and several mechas were seriously damaged, with one leg barely standing. Only 18 mecha divisions can keep up with my pace? Andre smiled slightly. That's enough. All 18 of you will be rewarded by me. If you die, you will be awarded the most glorious hero medal. Thank you, your majesty. The 18 mecha divisions all showed joy on their faces and responded loudly. Andre quickly found the underground tunnel leading to the broken energy gate. In order to transport mechas, the originally narrow tunnel has been widened by drilling mechas, but the 100-meter high Demon King Mecha still cannot pass through the tunnel. Andre smiled coldly, and the Demon King Mecha raised his right hand, and a black beam shot out from his palm. Boom. This black beam carried an extremely terrifying power, and the stone melted instantly, burning a hole large enough for the Demon King Mecha to pass through. Andre jumped in first, and came to the broken energy gate. There were hundreds of mechas guarding the broken energy gate, and the laser cannons on all the mechas were gathering energy, waiting for Andre to enter, and they would fire together. Boom. The demon mecha fell heavily, and a deep pit suddenly appeared on the ground. The shockwave spread in all directions like ripples. The mechas in the front row didn't even have the chance to fire, because they were affected by the shockwave. They were crushed into powder in the high energy impact. Although the mechas in the back row had the opportunity to fire, the laser beams hit the demon mechas, and could not penetrate the defense at all, leaving no scorch marks at all. Die. Andre shouted, and the demon mecha waved its hand. A half-moon shaped black energy surged out, instantly destroying the remaining mechas. The ground was also plowed with a terrifying scorch mark more than 10 meters deep and hundreds of meters long. A bunch of scum. Andre laughed coldly. Below the legend level, they are all ants. Even the legendary level, in Andre's eyes, is only slightly stronger than an ant. The gap in strength is too big. Your Majesty, the enemy mechas nearby have been cleared. We found a large number of religious believers. There are hundreds of them. A subordinate reported. How should we deal with them? Religious believers? Andre didn't even think about it, and said directly, except for the Shinran sect, the rest of the religions are cults. Kill these pagans, don't leave any alive. Yes, sir. The 18 mechas immediately opened fire, and under the bombardment, all the religious believers outside the broken energy gate were killed. After clearing this area, Andre did not leave anyone to guard the broken energy gate, because he knew that the battle between the Polar Bear Mecha Corps and the Imperial Army would eventually win the Imperial Army. The forces of both sides were not at the same level at all. Moreover, Andre had already achieved the strategic goal this time, successfully entered the trench, and occupied the broken energy gate. He had issued an order for the remaining mecha divisions of the Polar Bear Mecha Corps to retreat. In a few minutes, the Imperial Mecha Army would arrive here, so there was no point in leaving anyone to guard the gate. Let's go. Andre led the 18 mecha divisions, and jumped into the light gate. Swish. The light flashed. Andrew entered Solomon's Abyss. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1570 The Man Close Street to God. Andre drove the Demon King Mech, and led 18 Northern Mech divisions, to enter Solomon's Abyss smoothly. HMM. So many legendary Mech divisions, even the Angel of Light Michael is here. It's just right, we can take them all down at once. Andre's eyes swept over the powerful men without any fear, his eyes were contemptuous and his posture was arrogant. Andre, how come you are here so fast? On the other side, Kinyan just got the news that Andre was leading his men to attack the Imperial fleet. He hadn't made up his mind whether to support the fleet or directly open the secret gate and enter the ancient human spaceship, and Andre had already arrived. Too fast. Kinyan was caught off guard for a moment, with a look of astonishment on his face. Andre, how foolish. As the pseudo-emperor of the Northern Empire, he actually put himself in danger. So arrogant. He simply doesn't take us legends seriously. Take this opportunity to surround and kill this villain. Beside the obsidian Steely, the legendary Mecha Masters were all furious and glared at Andre. Your Highness, please allow me to go out and capture Andre. Guzi clasped his hands together and volunteered. I will also join Senior Guzi in the battle. I guarantee it will be foolproof. A legendary Mecha Master also hurriedly said. There is no need, to be fair when dealing with rebels. Everyone present can take action together. There is no need to capture him alive, regardless of life or death. As long as Andre can be killed, I, Qin Yun, swear that I will make him a hereditary marquis. Qin Yun knew the horror of Andre's terror very well, and did not dare to neglect it, and shouted loudly. Okay. More than 30 of us legendary Mecha Masters. Together we will surround and kill Andre. Kai Hang smiled coldly, and drove the Mecha to fight together. Beside Qin Yun, only the Angel of Light Michael remained to protect his safety. A bunch of scum. Come on. Bloodthirsty. Andre sneered. His eyes suddenly turned red. Blood vessels on his face bulged, as if he was wearing a blue Rakshasa mask, extremely ferocious. The Demon King Mecha was red all over, and endless blood light poured out of the Mecha, condensing into two huge red wings on the back. Rumble. It was like the sky was falling, and the earth was cracking, and the space was trembling slightly. What a terrifying power. It's simply the end of the world. Devil. He must be a devil. Seeing this scene, the believers all fell into panic, and they all knelt on the ground to pray, hoping that their gods could protect them. Andre is so strong. Even stronger than when he was on the coffin star. Among the believers, Xia Xingchen's face was also uncertain. He thought that he had the beast god Mecha and was able to compete with Andre. Now it seems that he is still no match for Andre. Xia Xingchen is a star level, but Andre is above the star level and is already a quasi-celestial being. In the eyes of these believers, a celestial being is equivalent to a god. Then, Andre is the man closest to a god. Not good. Xia Xingchen stared at Andre, and the ominous feeling in his heart became stronger and stronger. Looking for death. Andre smiled coldly, and the devil Mecha waved his hand, and a black light flew out. This black light carried the power of destruction, and flew towards the legendary Mecha Master in the front. Protect the field. The Mecha Master's name is Yacho, a planetary level powerhouse, ranked 52nd on the Galaxy Legend list, good at defense, and his field is also defense oriented. In terms of defense alone, Yacho ranks in the top 10 among humans. But, a holy light surged from above, covering Yacho's Mecha, and the armor of the Mecha turned into a golden crystal, flashing with sacred light, and the defense was enhanced 100 times. However, the moment the black light collided with the sacred light, boom, a terrifying power broke out. The black light suddenly surged, covering Yacho and his Mecha together. With the roar of the explosion, the raging black energy bombarded the Mecha, instantly piercing the Mecha's golden crystal armor in the cockpit. Yacho was shocked. In the terrifying energy torrent, his body completely dissipated, leaving only the charred Mecha falling from mid-air. Andre drove the Demon King Mecha, condensed a huge axe with flashing black light in his hands, and swung it wildly. No one could stop him. I can't stop it. Too scary. Seeing his companions being hit by the giant axe one by one, the Mecha exploded and died, and the black giant axe left a spider web-like space crack after it passed. The legendary Mecha Masters were terrified. Andre fought against more than 30 legendary Mecha Masters alone, and he was not at a disadvantage. Is this the strength of a quasi-celestial being? The Light Angel Michael was also shocked. He turned to look at Qin Yun and said, Your Highness, they are no match for Andre. I must take action. Be careful. Swish. The space ring on Michael's finger flashed, and the Light Angel Mecha appeared out of thin air. The Light Angel Mecha seemed to be condensed by light, and the 3 pairs of light wings behind it trembled slightly. 6-winged Light Angel. Michael was about to enter the cockpit of the Light Angel, but Qin Yun grabbed his wrist and said anxiously, Senior, what are your chances of winning? Less than 30%. Michael shook his head and smiled bitterly. As the guardian of the Empire, Michael has never been so powerless as he is now. Andre is a quasi-celestial being, and his mental power level is even higher than his. The Demon King Mecha is even known as the strongest Mecha of mankind. The Light Angel mecha was obtained by Michael in an alien ruins, not a human creation. In theory, its performance is not inferior to the Demon King mecha. However, Michael has no confidence at all now. 30%? Kinyan was shocked. Even Michael only had a 30% chance of winning, and Andre's terrifying degree was beyond his expectations. Senior, we are no match for Andre. For now, the best strategy is to run away. Kinyan said hurriedly. Escape. Michael frowned. Where can we escape to? Here. As long as we can find the magic bottle and release the powerful spirit inside, we can reverse the situation and kill Andre. Kinyan pointed to the ancient human spaceship behind him, and 3 gates appeared on the purple energy shield. This. Michael frowned and thought for a while, then sighed. It can only be like this. I didn't expect that I, Michael, who had no fear in my life, would become a deserter now. At that moment, Michael put away the Light Angel mech, strode to the front of the gate, and placed his palm on the door. Buzz. A golden key flew out from Michael's head, slowly flew to the top of the gate, and turned into countless broken light fragments. The gate opened. Kinyan immediately rushed into the door, and "Are you okay?" Kinyan's personal guard, and the Angel of Light Michael also walked into the door. More than half of the 30 mecha masters were killed or injured, leaving only 10. Seeing the secret door open, the remaining mecha masters also rushed over desperately. In the end, only 8 of them successfully entered the secret door. Chapter 1571, Enemies Meet. Want to escape? Andre saw Kinyan's thoughts, and the figure of the Demon King mech flashed, and teleported to the purple energy shield. Close the door quickly. Kinyan shouted. What about the others? Michael hesitated. There were still many soldiers outside the door who had not had time to come in, and several legendary mechas were seriously damaged, but they still had life signs, and even their painful groans could be heard. In addition, there were hundreds of religious believers. Don't worry about them. If we don't close the door, we will all die together. Kinyan roared. Close it. Although Michael couldn't bear it in his heart, he knew that what Kinyan said was true, so he could only shout. Bang. On the purple energy shield, the 2 doors slammed shut. Boom. The black giant axe in the hands of the Demon King mech hit the purple energy shield heavily, making a thunderous roar. Sizzle, sizzle. The purple energy shield was sunken at first, but it returned to its original state after a few seconds, and countless purple lightnings burst out, like little snakes, spreading to the legs of the Demon King mech, solidifying into a layer of purple crystals. Can't move. Andre was startled, and found that the Demon King mech couldn't move. The purple crystals on the legs were extremely strong, and even the Demon King mech couldn't destroy them in a short time. Point blocked. Passing through the purple energy shield, Kinyan and others could still see the situation outside. Kinyan was still in shock. Just now, when Andre's giant axe hit him, he really thought he was dead. Fortunately, the ancient humans had powerful technology, and even Andre couldn't penetrate the energy shield. Moreover, Andre's attack triggered the defense mechanism of the energy shield, releasing a solid purple crystal that fixed the Demon King mech in place, unable to move. The purple lightning just now was just a warning. If I hadn't stopped in time and reduced the energy by 50%, I'm afraid these purple crystals would have covered the entire body of the Demon King mech. Now it's just the legs. It's not a big deal. Andre secretly rejoiced. The engine of the Demon King mech turned frantically, pushing the energy to the peak. The purple crystals on the legs began to loosen and turned into fragments and fell off. It won't take long for Andre to successfully escape. Kinyan, you and I are friends after all. I will spare your life this time. However, you'd better give up looking for the magic bottle. If I meet you in the ancient human spaceship, I will definitely trample you into a pulp. Andre grinned and said to Kinyan in the barrier. Kinyan clenched his hands and his face flushed. He was so humiliated by Andre that he was extremely angry, but he could do nothing. The law of the universe is that the strong prey on the weak. Andre is too powerful. He almost surpassed humans and became a life above humans, a celestial being. Kinyan knew very well that he had no way to fight Andre. Unless he found the bottle of Solomon first, there was still a chance of winning. Your Majesty. A northern mecha master flew over in a mecha and knelt in front of the Demon King's mecha. There are still some remnants. What should we do with them? Andre sneered. Kill them all. What about those unarmed believers? Asked his men. They are all pagans. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Andre said. Yes, sir. 18 northern mecha masters drove their mechas to the steel fence and looked down at the believers who were praying. Are you going to kill us? Andre, you will die a horrible death. God, please bless us. Send down divine punishment and punish Andre. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. The believers fell into chaos. Some cried, some closed their eyes and prayed, and some laughed crazily. Ugly. The northern mecha masters looked disdainful, and the energy of the laser cannons on their shoulders gathered, ready to launch a massacre. Xingchen. The elder was also panicked, his voice trembling, and he turned around to look. However, Xia Xingchen was no longer in the original place. Swish. A huge dark golden mecha appeared out of thin air and stood in front of the 18 northern mecha masters. Where did the mecha come from? What kind of mecha is this? It's huge and about the same height as the Demon King mecha. This mental power fluctuation. Everyone's eyes were projected to the cockpit of the mecha. In the cockpit of the beast god, there was a slightly thin figure with a confident smile on his young face. Xia Xingchen. Andre was slightly startled when he saw this familiar face. His eyes suddenly became bloodshot and turned scarlet, and he roared. Xia Xingchen? Qin saw that the mecha master of the beast god mecha was Xia Xingchen, and his face changed immediately. It's Xia Xingchen. I was not wrong. It turns out that he is really hiding among the believers. But his mental power level is already stellar? Michael opened his mouth wide, his face full of disbelief. Xia Xingchen suddenly appeared, and everyone in the forces of Andre and Qin was shocked. Xia Xingchen, Xia Xingchen. No wonder my future eye is ineffective and all I see is fog. I originally thought it was the interference of the magic bottle. Now it seems that you are the source of the interference. When enemies meet, they are particularly jealous. Andre stared at Xia Xingchen with hatred in his eyes. Andre. Xia Xingchen looked at Andre coldly. We meet again. It's really a narrow road for enemies. Kill him. Kill him immediately. Andre felt extremely painful. He couldn't bear Xia Xingchen to continue living, even for a second. He is Xia Xingchen. His Majesty Andre's nemesis. Kill him. His Majesty will reward you greatly. The 18 northern mecha masters all had grim smiles on their faces. Although it is said that Xia Xingchen is very strong. But they are not weak. 18-1. Can they still lose? Whirlpool. Without even looking, Xia Xingchen raised the right hand of the beast god mech and clenched it in the air. Boom. Pure spiritual energy gathered and turned into a huge vortex with a diameter of 100 meters, trapping the 18 northern mecha divisions in it. Swish, swish, swish. The mental power vortex was like a star wheel, spinning wildly, instantly crushing the 18 mecha divisions. Not only the bodies of the mecha divisions, but even the wreckage of the mechas were not left, all turned into debris. The power of this move of the vortex is stronger than I thought. Xia Xingchen nodded, very satisfied with the power of the vortex. Xia Xingchen only made one move. All the 18 northern mecha divisions died. Those 18 mecha divisions all followed Andre to kill out of the battlefield. How many of them were legendary and were killed instantly by Xia Xingchen in one move? Andre crushed more than 30 legends alone. Xia Xingchen killed 18 in one move. Are both of them monsters? Terrible. These two are too terrifying. Qin and the legendaries around him were all terrified when they saw what had just happened. Chapter 1570 to come in, if you have the guts. Xia Xingchen. The grudge between you and me must be settled today. Roll over here and die. Andre's eyes were red, and he roared loudly. Andre, do you think I'm stupid? Let me pass. I will pass. If you have the guts, come here. Xia Xingchen knew that there was a huge gap between his strength and Andre's. Although the Demon King mech could not move, if he entered his attack range, he would be defeated. Andre's mech was trapped, and if he wanted to pass, he had to leave the mech. Even if Andre was a quasi-celestial being, if he didn't drive, his strength was at most equivalent to that of an A-level mech master. Coward. He roared angrily, and the black giant axe in the hands of the Demon King mech swung, and a large piece of black light whistled over. Starry sky barrier. Xia Xingchen waved his hand, and a large piece of starlight flew out from between his fingers, turning into a barrier, easily resisting the terrifying energy bursting out of the black light. The Demon King mech was the proud work of Zuo Leheng and Hao Xian. Xia Xingchen also participated in the design, and made many suggestions. Xia Xingchen knew the performance and structure of the Demon King mech very well. Although the performance of the Demon King mech is strong, it has a huge disadvantage, that is, it does not carry a matching mech weapon. The black giant axe in Andre's hand is condensed from his mental power, and the close range attack is very fierce. However, the long range attack is much weaker. Wherever the black light passes, ordinary legendary mech masters cannot resist it, but it does not mean that Xia Xingchen cannot resist it. In fact, Xia Xingchen does not need to activate the defense system of the beast god mech at all. He can release the starry sky barrier to resist Andre's long range attack by relying on mental power. While easily resisting Andre's crazy attack, Xia Xingchen rescued several dying legendary mech masters from the wreckage of the mech, including Kaiheng and Guzi, two peak masters. Xia Xingchen, you dare to save people. You simply don't take me seriously. Andre felt that he was despised, and became even more angry. The blood vessels on his face burst, and he turned on bloodthirstiness again. The purple crystals on the Demon King's Mecha's legs kept breaking, and the time to escape was greatly shortened. It was expected that he would be able to escape within 60 seconds. Xia Xingchen, you can be so arrogant now. You only have 60 seconds to escape. After 60 seconds, I will chase you to the end of the universe and cut you into pieces. Andre's face was full of ferociousness. Xia Xingchen had long become Andre's inner demon. In order to hunt down Xia Xingchen, Andre was willing to give up the opportunity to find the bottle of Solomon. At the same time, Andre had sent a message and ordered the Polar Bear Mecha Corps to stop Xia Xingchen at any cost over the Mariana Trench. Andre was confident that he could hunt down Xia Xingchen within 3 minutes and kill him within 10 minutes. After getting rid of this big worry, Andre could return to the abyss, enter the ancient human spaceship, and continue to look for the bottle of Solomon. He could even wait for Qin to find the magic bottle before robbing and killing him. Xia Xingchen, if you keep hiding, I really can't do anything to you. You dare to stand up, how stupid. Your life has entered the countdown. Andre looked at Xia Xingchen coldly. In his eyes, Xia Xingchen was already a corpse. In the spacious cockpit of the beast god Mecha, Kaiheng, Guzi and several legendary Mecha masters were covered in scars and blood, but they were still conscious. Xia Xingchen, thank you for saving us. But Andre is about to escape, why don't you run away? Kaiheng's blood-stained face was full of astonishment. Yes, if it's any later, you will definitely not be able to escape. Guzi also said anxiously. Xia Xingchen did not answer, but returned to the religious believers, looking down at them from a high position, and said in a deep voice, if you don't want to die, follow me. Xia Xingchen, what do you mean? Are you going to save us? Andre will be out of trouble soon. You only have one mecha, although it is huge, it can't hold so many of us. Besides, Andre has been out of trouble in the time it takes us to get on the mecha. Moreover, we have been targeting the Ming Xiu sect, targeting you, and even want to put you to death. Even so, you still decided to save us? Your mind is so broad? The religious believers were all in disbelief. Broad-minded? Xia Xingchen shook his head and said lightly, I just don't want to see many innocent people die because of you. So, you'd better stay alive. Most of the religious believers present were core members of large religions, or even leaders. If something happened to these people, their religions would definitely be in chaos, and believers would fight for power. The power struggle within religions has always been extremely cruel. By then, the people who will die will not only be the religious leaders in front of us, but also thousands of innocent believers, or even hundreds of thousands or millions. Xia Xingchen, you are really greedy. Saving those useless mecha masters is not enough, but you also want to save these pagans? Andre sneered. Wait, you will all die together. Xia Xingchen is really a saint. He wants to save everyone. But he can't even save himself. Why should he save so many people? Qin sneered in the purple energy shield. Others were also curious. What method did Xia Xingchen have to save so many people from Andre's hands? Xia Xingchen walked straight to the purple energy shield, flew out of the beast god mecha, and put his hand on the door. A golden key emerged, and the door slowly opened. Xia Xingchen smiled at Andre. Andre, I'll go first. After that, Xia Xingchen took the lead in walking into the door, and the religious believers also hurriedly followed in. Boom. The door closed. What? How come Xia Xingchen also has a key? Everyone was shocked. The first key was taken by Xia Xingchen. It's not some bullshit, Master Lanju. Qin was furious, turned around and kicked General Luok to the ground. Your Highness, I don't know either. General Luok looked confused. He couldn't figure out when Xia Xingchen got the first key. Boom. Until this moment, Andre managed to escape, and the Demon King Mecha teleported to the door, but it was too late. He could only watch Xia Xingchen leave through the purple translucent energy shield. Xia Xingchen, you coward. Andre was extremely angry, his face flushed, and he roared loudly. Oh, you are not a coward, just break through this thin energy shield and come in. The two of us will fight for 300 rounds. Xia Xingchen stopped, turned around, and smiled. Seeing Andre's ugly appearance of being furious, he felt happy. You. Andre was speechless for a moment. He had just attacked the energy shield and suffered a lot, so he would not be stupid enough to attack again. Xia Xingchen, I want you to die. You must die. Andre's angry roar made the space tremble slightly. Andre was like a demon, muttering in his mouth, and finally discovered the mystery of the obsidian tablet, and put his palm in the groove. Swish. The obsidian tablet was shining brightly. The last golden key fell into Andre's hands. Andre was like an angry lion, rushing directly into the third door. The three channels have different routes, but the destination is the same, which is the core area of the ancient human spacecraft, where the Solomon's bottle is sealed. Andre wants to reach the core area first, snatch the magic bottle first, and then wait and kill Xia Xingchen. Chapter 1573 White Crystal. Earth, Mariana Trench, ancient human spaceship. Finally got in. It was really dangerous just now. If Andre hadn't been too impatient and triggered the spaceship's defense mechanism, the mecha would have been trapped. I would have had to abandon these believers and mecha masters and only bring that wave of masters in. Xia Xingchen knew very well that it was a fluke that he could save so many people. Lord Marquis, thank you for sacrificing your life to save us. There were 7 legendary mecha masters in total. After simply treating their wounds, they all bowed to thank Xia Xingchen. Oh, I'm a fugitive of the Empire. Aren't you serving the Empire? Xia Xingchen smiled. Although we have not served the Empire, we also know how to repay our gratitude. Qin abandoned us. If it weren't for Lord Marquis's rescue, we would have died. Kai Heng said in a deep voice. It's a pity that our mechas are all seriously damaged, and we only have half of our lives left. We can't help Lord Marquis at all, but we are a burden. Guzi sighed. You two seniors are too polite. Xia Xingchen said with a smile. We are now grasshoppers on the same line. The door behind us is closed, and can no longer be opened. For now, we have to find a way to pass through this passage and reach the core area of the ancient human spaceship. From this moment on, please obey my command. Of course. We will naturally assist the Marquis with all our strength. The 7 legendary mecha masters said solemnly. Sir, we will naturally assist with all our strength. But those believers. Guzi looked at the large group of believers behind him. After escaping death, the believers were still in fear. Many of the believers were still pale, and most of them were at a loss, not knowing where to go. You immediately elect a representative to negotiate with me. Xia Xingchen shouted loudly. Xia Xingchen was not stupid enough to negotiate with so many believers in person. They had different religions, beliefs, and ideas, and it was difficult to reach a consensus. The believers were not convinced by each other, but the situation was urgent, so they finally elected a representative to negotiate with Xia Xingchen. The representative was an elderly man in a black robe, dressed like a priest. He walked up to Xia Xingchen and drew a cross on his chest. My Lord Marquis, I'm the leader of the Cross Church and the representative elected by everyone. You can call me Adrian. Adrian was a powerful figure in the Cross Church, second only to the Pope. He also had a very high prestige in all major religions, so he was elected as a representative. Adrian, Xia Xingchen didn't care about Adrian's religious identity at all and called him by his name. You should know very well that, if it weren't for me, you would all die at the hands of Andre. Your religion would fall into internal strife, and the Shinran sect would definitely take advantage of the situation. In the worst case, your religion would be destroyed. No, our religion will not be destroyed, and faith will last forever. Adrian shook his head slowly, his eyes sparkling. But, Lord Marquis, you are right. Many children of God will die worthlessly. On behalf of those children, and on behalf of the believers present, I thank you. Adrian bowed slightly, made a cross with his right hand in front of him, and prayed for Xia Xingchen. Time is running out. Let me make it short. We are safe for now. 3 passages all lead to the core area. If Andre arrives at the core area first, what awaits you? I don't need to say more. Xia Xingchen waved his hand and said impatiently, death. Adrian's face changed. I will let you leave here alive. But you must obey my command. Can you do it? Xia Xingchen said. Of course. We will definitely follow the Marquis's command. But, we don't know how to drive mechas. Can we help you? Adrian smiled bitterly and shook his head. At least don't make trouble. Xia Xingchen didn't think these religious believers could help him at this moment. Time passed by, and Kinyan and Andre had already taken the lead on the other 2 roads. Xia Xingchen spent a lot of time to appease the believers and mecha masters. Let's go. Follow me and be as careful as possible. Xia Xingchen turned and walked into the passage. Behind him followed 7 legendary mecha masters, and hundreds of religious believers followed at the end. Swish. Everyone passed through a light gate, and the scene suddenly changed. Xia Xingchen found himself in the corridor of an advanced spacecraft. Surrounded by silver white walls, the corridor lights above emitted a cold white light, and at the end of the corridor was a huge closed hatch. For a moment, Xia Xingchen even felt that he had returned to the Star Domain Arc. The Star Domain Arc and this ancient human spaceship are both creations of ancient humans. The models of the spaceships are different, but the feeling they give people is very similar. Xia Xingchen walked carefully to the end of the corridor and did not encounter any mechanisms along the way. There was no switch on the hatch. On the ground at the lower right stood a half-man-high white crystal, emitting a faint spiritual fluctuation. This white crystal has a mystery. Xia Xingchen's heart moved, and his palm was placed on the white crystal. Swish. The white crystal was like a huge whirlpool, instantly absorbing most of Xia Xingchen's spiritual power, and began to flash green light. Click. The hatch opened. So simple. Kai Heng and others looked solemn, without any joy. How could such a simple mechanism stop Andre? Andre might even have reached the core area and got the bottle of Solomon. Simple. Xia Xingchen's face was pale, his lips were slightly blue, and he muttered, this damn thing absorbed nearly half of my mental power in one go. You actually think it's simple? Nearly half of the mental power of a star-level powerhouse. It's just to open a door, and it requires too much mental power. Kai Heng and other legendary mecha masters were all surprised. Xia Xingchen shook his head without too much explanation. His total mental power far exceeds that of ordinary star-level powerhouses, and can even be compared with quasi-celestial beings. Half of his mental power, just to open a hatch? Xia Xingchen was shocked. Just to restore the absorbed mental power, he needed to meditate and rest for 10 hours. The first door opened, and the second door was at the end of the 100-meter-long corridor. At the lower right corner of the hatch, there was still a piece of white crystal. Xia Xingchen found a diagram of the structure of the spacecraft on the wall of the corridor, which showed that 9 doors needed to be opened to reach the core area. Everyone came to the second door. Kai Heng stepped forward and said with a smile, "My Lord Marquis is tired. Let me open this door." Kai Heng said, and put his palm on the crystal. Kai Heng is ranked 6th on the legend list, and he always thinks highly of himself. Xia Xingchen is a star level, and has just used up half of his mental power. Kai Heng estimates that he will need to use up 70% to 80%. Anyway, his mecha is damaged and can't fight, so it's useless to use mental power. Wait a minute. Xia Xingchen wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Kai Heng put his right hand on the crystal, and the next second, his whole body trembled, as if he had been electrocuted. His eyes rolled up, and his right hand was also dehydrated. The skin and muscles atrophied rapidly and spread to the shoulder in a blink of an eye. Chapter 1574 Cruel Means. Seeing Kai Heng's palm being sucked by the white crystal, his right hand shrank rapidly like a deflated balloon. Xia Xingchen knew something was wrong and moved quickly to grab Kai Heng's wrist. Swish. At the moment of touching Kai Heng, the remaining half of Xia Xingchen's mental power was also swallowed up by the white crystal. Buzz. The white crystal emitted a lavender light this time, and the door slowly opened. Kai Heng's palm was taken off the white crystal, and he sat on the ground, breathing heavily, with a lingering fear on his face. The situation just now was really dangerous. In less than a second, Kai Heng's mental power was completely absorbed by the white crystal. This crystal is like a greedy beast. When mental power cannot be satisfied, it uses flesh and blood to fill it. Kai Heng's right arm was completely disabled, but with the Imperial technology, he can regenerate his broken limbs after returning to Shinyuan Star. My Lord Marquis, thank you so much just now for saving my life again. Kai Heng recovered a little and immediately bowed to thank Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen waved his hand. Senior, don't worry about it. It was because I didn't stop you in time that you lost an arm. I was careless. I saw you pass the first door easily, and I felt a little competitive. I didn't expect that this white crystal was so terrifying that all my mental power was not enough to fill it. Then again, the Marquis is so young, but his mental power is so vast. Just 50%, but it can match all of Kai's mental power, which is really shocking. Kai Heng was ashamed. Marquis Xingchen is famous all over the starry sky, and he deserves it. The other legendary mecha masters all looked at Xia Xingchen with a little more admiration. The second white crystal requires 30% more mental power than the first one. By analogy, the mental power required for the next crystal is 30% of the previous one. So if you want to open the 9 doors, the mental power required is an astronomical figure. Xia Xingchen calculated in his mind that the mental power required to open the 9th door alone is 10 times that of the first door. Everyone, you can rest assured now. It's not that easy for Andre to pass through these 9 doors. Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. At the same time, in another passage, Andre stood in front of the 3rd door, looking down at the white crystal with a solemn face. After passing through the first 2 doors, this ghost thing absorbed 80% of my mental power. Now my mental power is only 20%, and it is impossible to open this door again. There is no other way. I can only meditate and wait for my mental power to recover slowly. Andre was a little impatient at first, but after sitting cross-legged, he quickly calmed down. Among the 3 groups of people, I have the strongest strength and the highest mental power. Even I have to meditate and wait for my mental power to recover, and the speed of the other 2 groups is even slower. The first person to reach the core area must be me. Xia Xingchen, I must tear you into pieces. Qin Yun and more than a dozen legendary mecha masters, with hundreds of soldiers, were also stopped in front of the 3rd door at this moment. Michael's face was pale, sitting cross-legged in front of the first door, his eyes closed, meditating. Michael was at the peak of the star level, but his mental power was far inferior to Xia Xingchen and Andre. He used up all his mental power just by opening the first door, and could only meditate to recover. In front of the 2nd door, there were 4 shrunken corpses. 3 of them were wearing Imperial military uniforms. Another one was wearing a high-level mecha combat suit, and it was obvious that he was a legendary mecha master. Among the 3 groups of people, Qin Yun had the largest number of people and many masters under his command. In addition to the legendary mecha masters, there were also S-level and A-level mecha masters among the soldiers. However, Qin Yun was extremely anxious and had no patience to wait for Michael to meditate and recover. He forced his men to touch the white crystal, and it took 4 levs to open the 2nd door. A-level, S-level, and even legendary mecha masters. They are considered big shots anywhere in the galaxy, but in Qin Yun's eyes, their lives are like grass. Just to open a door, 4 lives were sacrificed. Qin Yun's men, including Michael, were secretly chilled. But under the pressure of Qin Yun's power, everyone dared to be angry, but dared not speak. At this moment, in front of the 3rd door, Qin Yun's eyes were cold and his face was twisted with a smile. This is the 3rd door. Who will open it? An old legendary mecha master couldn't bear it anymore, stepped forward and whispered, "Your Highness, 4 masters died just after opening the second door. Why don't we wait patiently for the Imperial Guardian to recover from meditation before making plans?" Qin sneered, "You know shit. Now every second counts. I must be the first to get the magic bottle. Only in this way can the Empire turn defeat into victory. You are all Imperial soldiers, but you are afraid of death at this time. Senior Stan, since you asked, please take the lead in this third door. If you die, I will take your ashes back to Shiniu and Star and enjoy the treatment of a state funeral." When the legendary Mecha Master Stan heard what Qin said, his face turned pale, his fingers trembled, and he pointed at Qin's nose, and he was so angry that he couldn't say a word. This is war. A cruel war. As long as it's war, people will die. Qin raised his right hand, and immediately a Mecha Master came forward, grabbed Stan's body, and pressed him heavily on the white crystal. In the blink of an eye, Stan became a dried corpse. Only 20%? Qin glanced at the white crystal and said contemptuously, "What a waste. It seems that to open the third door, we need 5 more wastes like you." Xia Xingchen, Qin, and Andre. Among the 3 groups of people, Qin's method was the most cruel. He left 5 more bodies in front of the third door, and had already arrived at the 4th door. He was the fastest. Andre's realm was the highest, and his meditation efficiency was far superior to others. He recovered first and easily opened the third door. When he arrived at the 4th door, he could only meditate again to recover, temporarily ranking second. Xia Xingchen was the slowest, and was still stuck in front of the third door. This won't work. Xia Xingchen was originally sitting cross-legged in meditation, but suddenly opened his eyes and stood up, his expression solemn. "What's wrong?" Kai Heng asked. "The speed is too slow. I don't know about Qin, but our current progress will never surpass Andre. As long as we are slower than Andre, we will die." Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. "What should we do? We have tried our best," the legendary Mecha Masters exclaimed. "Otherwise." Guzi's eyes fell on the believers behind him, and a cruel look flashed in his eyes. "I see that there are some air level and S level masters among these believers. Otherwise, let them open the door and relieve us a little pressure. No, their mental power level is too low. If they touch the white crystal, they will definitely die. I promised them that I would take all of them away alive, and I will do what I say." Xia Xingchen flatly rejected Guzi's proposal. Chapter 1575, The Prison of Faith. "My Lord Marquis, do you have any good ideas?" Everyone's eyes fell on Xia Xingchen. "There is a way worth a try." Xia Xingchen pondered for a moment and called Adrian, the representative of the believers. "My Lord Marquis, what do you want?" Adrian said respectfully. "You can see that the current situation is very serious. I hope you can pray together, for me and for your lives." Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. "Pray?" Adrian suspected that he had heard it wrong. "My lord, just pray?" "Yes, pray. I need you to be pious enough. Put my position temporarily under the god you believe in." Xia Xingchen nodded. "Of course, you are our savior. You are the messenger sent by the gods to save us. It is our honor to pray for you. In fact, as long as you don't force us to change our beliefs, even if we sacrifice lives, it is not a bad idea. What's more, it's just a small matter like praying." Adrian agreed very readily. Religious believers and ordinary imperial citizens think about problems in completely different ways. Like the elder, Adrian and other believers all regarded Xia Xingchen as the messenger of God, and were willing to pray for him. Of course, it was also because Xia Xingchen saved them all. Andre, who persecuted and slaughtered them, was a devil in the eyes of the believers. Andre wanted to force them to pray for him, even if he killed these believers. These believers were the most fanatical and determined believers in their respective religions. For their beliefs, they were willing to give up their lives. Adrian immediately returned to the believers and led them to pray. The cross believers took out the cross, knelt on their knees, prayed with piety, and prayed for Xia Xingchen. The monks took out their rosaries and chanted scriptures. The shamans stood up and danced an ancient and simple dance. The demon believers took out sharp knives from their bodies, carved on their bodies, and prayed with their own blood. There are dozens of religions on earth, Whether they are orthodox cults, large sects or small sects, the believers, led by their religious leaders, prayed for Xia Xingchen in different ways. The vast power of faith was like a milky white silk, flying towards Xia Xingchen, completely covering him. Xia Xingchen was pleasantly surprised to find that in the source of faith in his mind, the power of faith quickly filled the entire crystal pyramid. The speed of accumulation of the power of faith is too fast, Xia Xingchen exclaimed. In the past, Xia Xingchen accumulated the power of faith. Even if he saved the entire Liang star, the power of faith he obtained was only enough to fill the entire crystal pyramid. In addition to Liang star, there are many people on the planet such as Azure star, Coffin star, Lubin star, and Mana star who respect, trust, and love Xia Xingchen. These emotions are essentially spiritual energy, which can be converted into the power of faith and gathered in the source of faith. However, the capacity of the source of faith is too small. After the power of faith fills the pyramid, the remaining power of faith is wasted in vain. If Xia Xingchen converted all the power of faith he obtained into spiritual power, I'm afraid he would have been promoted to a celestial being long ago. Let's get started. Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged, silently reciting the formula of the soul refining technique, converting the pure power of faith into mental power to replenish himself. There are several ways to restore mental power. Meditation, which allows mental power to slowly recover, is the most commonly used method. In addition, there are also medications to assist, or directly taking some cosmic secret treasures that replenish mental power. However, these cosmic secret treasures are very precious and can only be encountered by chance. Xia Xingchen uses the power of faith to transform mental power to replenish himself, which is equivalent to directly taking cosmic secret treasures. The speed of restoring mental power is 100 times and 1,000 times faster than before. In just 30 minutes, Xia Xingchen felt that his mental power was completely restored. He immediately walked to the third door and placed his palm on the white crystal. Click. The third door opened. Xia Xingchen couldn't suppress his excitement, walked to the fourth door, and continued to cross his legs to practice the soul refining technique to restore his mental power. Another half an hour. Xia Xingchen's mental power recovered to its peak state and successfully opened the fourth door, the fifth door, the sixth door, the seventh door, the eighth door. Every half an hour, Xia Xingchen can open a door on time. Standing in front of the ninth door, Xia Xingchen said to Kaiheng and others, "This is the last door. With my strength, I may not be able to open it smoothly. Please give me a helping hand." Of course. Kaiheng and others also said with joy, "Thank you." Xia Xingchen smiled confidently and placed his palm on the last white crystal. The other 7 Mecha masters placed their hands on Xia Xingchen's back one by one. Behind them, the believers all looked pious and prayed for Xia Xingchen. The vast power of faith continued to gather on Xia Xingchen's body and transformed into spiritual power. But the white crystal bloomed with a brilliant golden light. The last door was opened. Behind the door was a dark room with some slightly shiny lines on the ground, like a circuit board. These lines gathered in the center of the room, forming a crystal pyramid that flashed white light, suspended in the air and slowly rotating. The source of faith. Xia Xingchen took a breath of cold air when he saw the crystal pyramid. It was almost exactly the same as the source of faith in Xia Xingchen's mind, except for the size. Could this be the Solomon's bottle? Is the Solomon's bottle actually the source of faith? Xia Xingchen was always calm, but the scene in front of him was too shocking, and his mind went blank. "Ah. Is this the magic bottle you mentioned?" Aing Leo's exclamation suddenly sounded in Xia Xingchen's mind. "Aing Leo, what is that? Is it the second source of faith?" Xia Xingchen asked in a trembling voice. "How is it possible? Do you think the source of faith is cabbage? The source of faith is the unique top secret treasure in the universe." Aing Leo's tone was very proud. "But this thing in front of me is indeed very related to me. You have always said that you are looking for the Solomon's bottle. How could I know that it was this? The cage of faith. The cage of faith. It has a great relationship with the source of faith." Xia Xingchen's heart was pounding. You already know that the source of faith has many uses, the most important of which is to collect and transform the power of faith. However, the space of the source of faith is limited, and the excess faith will be wasted, which is a pity. Therefore, the super race that created the source of faith built 12 faith cages to store the excess power of faith. Although the faith cages are not as unique as the source of faith, there are only 12 in the entire universe, and they are also extremely rare cosmic treasures. Something that many celestial races dream of. You are lucky. On this backward planet, there is actually such a treasure sleeping. Old Dying seemed even more excited than Xia Xingchen. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.